Attention in the NASCAR garage area. Let's start getting the cars ready for inspection, and let's start putting them on pit road.
The Daytona 500, the great American race. For many, the great American dream.
Take it easy, not so fast.
It's time to go to bed. Turn out the light.
Lucky number 7.
You really think you don't need that break?
No.
Attention, junior class. 10, 15-year-olds. Your race is next.
Come on, man, you've been out this all day. Let's get out here and play some ball.
I gotta finish up.
All right, later.
Go get him.
Number 7 moves up through the front of the field.
Number 7 car, your winner.
Qualifying is now underway. That's 209 miles per hour. Now, ladies and gentlemen, starting his first Daytona 500, driving car number 7 from Utah, Florida.
That dream is very much alive today in the minds of the 42 men whose cars are lined up on pit road. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Economaki, and welcome to the great American race, the Daytona 500. No other sport has its most important, most prestigious, and richest event at the beginning of the season. But stock car racing does. And today, in the perfect Chamber of Commerce weather, we should see a combination of speed, strategy, and plain old daring do that should give us 500 miles of tension-filled racing. The Daytona 500 is the Super Bowl of stock car racing, and that's why more than 100,000 fans have jammed the grandstands and the infield area of the Daytona International Speedway for today's classic event. And now, for the man who will call the race, my CBS broadcast colleague, Ken Squire.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. Temperatures are in the 70s. You couldn't have a better day for a race than what we have right here. And we have $1.5 million go. Now, Daytona is a small town on the eastern seaboard of Florida, about 65,000 people. At this hour, it's augmented by some 125,000 people to see this, the single most important race of the year. And the speeds are up on this 42-car field. They're averaging 203 miles per hour in qualifying. The man most responsible, he took a lap at 210 miles an hour around this track, and he equaled the record of the late Fireball Roberts for 3 consecutive pole positions. He's the pride of Georgia, Bill Elliott. Mike Joy is standing by with the 1985 champion.
Ken, he is the fastest driver here, but he had a bit of a scare in yesterday's 300-mile race. A couple of pirouettes and a whack into the wall, and the car came down to rest at the track apron. And, Bill, that looked like it was going to be a bad one.
Well, you know, from the seat I had, it looked like it was, too, and I felt like that I got out of it real lucky. I got just a little bit of a stiff neck, but other than that, I'm in good shape.
You came here as the fastest car and got beaten by inches in the qualifying race Thursday. But were you showing your full hand, or is there maybe a little more here underneath the sheet metal?
Well, I'm sure this afternoon we'll know a lot more, and, you know, we got 500 miles to run. We'll see what happens.
Good luck today. Bill Elliott drives the car. Brothers Ernie and Dan helped prepare it. It was formerly owned by their dad, George, as auto racing is truly a family sport. Time now to meet the newest member of the CBS sports family, Dave Despain. And we have a family story as well. Pop and Mom Allison have come here to cheer for their son Bobby, who's going to start this race, a remarkable 23rd year in a row. But this year, they'll cheer for somebody else. Bobby's son Davey will make history this afternoon, the first rookie ever to start this race from the front row. The rest of the family team here includes cousins and brothers and sisters and wives and Uncle Donnie down there, who almost won this race a couple of times. On Thursday, Davey showed us what he's made of. He went out onto the racetrack and saved his car from a terrible potential spin. Could have been a disaster, but he brought it back in one piece to put it on the outside of row one. The question, young man, are you ready to go out there and run with the big guys?
Well, Dave, we've been working real hard in practice this week, and the car's working real good now, and I think we're ready for the race.
Good luck today. Perhaps the proudest member of this family must be Bobby's wife, Davey's mother, Judy Allison. Only one man can win this race. Two men in your life are going to try to do it. Who do you pull for down at the bottom of your heart?
The one that pays the bills.
The one that pays the bills. It is a proud moment here in the Florida sunshine for Stock Car Racing's Allison family. Ken?
Two-time Grand National Champion Ned Jarrett, our colleague, is alongside, and you can certainly speak to a family in motorsports.
Well, my two sons ran yesterday, and we see a lot of that in the sport today, which brings an influx of youth into the sport. It's a great mixture of youth and the great experience of fellows like Cale, Yarborough, Buddy Baker, Richard Petty, and Benny Parsons, who showed that he can still do it by winning one of the 125-mile qualifiers here on Thursday. But on the other hand, the youth is here. They have a lot of enthusiasm with cars that are capable of winning this race or any other that they enter. Bobby Hillin Jr. won at Talladega last year, and then young Kenny Schrader beat Bill Elliott back to the finish line in the qualifier here on Thursday. So it does make an interesting mix. But Ken, between all of that, you have some experience there and some fellas like Bill Elliott who are going to be awfully tough today, and I still have to look at him as my favorite for this 500-mile race.
Since we began our coverage in 1979, another colleague has been David Hobbs, one of the most versatile racers in the world of motorsport. How do you see this?
Well, first of all, what a pragmatic and sensible woman. During the winter months, hours have been spent in the wind tunnels. The cars are 200 pounds lighter this year, and speeds are up in testing, practice, and qualifying, with a massive 5-mile-an-hour jump for the pole spot, and some pretty scary moments along the way as well. But in this 500-mile race, I fear that youth and exuberance will fail to win out over experience, both behind the wheel and the pit wall. So although my heart says Davey or Kenny, my head has to say a Dale or a Darrell.
Stand by. Electricity is in the air as we build for the start of the Great American Race. Live flag-to-flag coverage on CBS of the Daytona 500.
The 29th annual running of the Daytona 500 is sponsored by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Budweiser, the genuine article. Beechwood age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. And by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. No matter how far you go, Goodyear takes you home.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation by the Reverend Hal Marchman, pastor of the Central Baptist Church of Daytona Beach, Florida.
Let us pray. Almighty God and Father of all mankind, deep gratitude fills our hearts as we count our blessings and remember your mercies to us. Help us to see how we can live better when we follow your spirit and grow under your nurture. Breathe upon us today fresh truth that will blow staleness from our souls. Ignite in our hearts a faith in God that will shine through the windows of our lives to dispel darkness and doubt. Bless our great nation and her leaders. Long may our land be bright with freedom's holy light. Protect us by thy might, great God, our King. We invoke your blessings upon us today. Bless all who make this race possible. Give each one a spirit of competitiveness that is wholesome and indicative of thy spirit. We're grateful for the experts in the field of automotive technology that makes this day possible. Be near us all as we depend upon your spirit in our hearts. Amen.
Please remain standing for the raising of our flag by the Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University Army ROTC Color Guard, led by Cadet Captain Lena Moeller, and the singing of our national anthem by Mr. T.G. Shepard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight? Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
A member of the crew from car number 35, T.G. Shepard of Nashville, Tennessee. Excited today as Benny Parsons takes over for Tim Richmond, who so much wanted to be part of this event, watching it here on CBS instead. In-car cameras. This is Darrell Waltrip, brand new racing team, car number 17. In row 3, there you see from the face cam as Darrell prepares for the event. This is Neil Bonnet's view of the race for today. He's in row 8. We have the opportunity to talk to him now and then under caution when his crew chief allows. And tucked away in the rear headlight panel is a brand new camera. And if you want to see speed, we think that element will be projected by that camera. There's a camera shooting our camera there as you look at Ron Bouchard's number 1. Waiting for the command to fire the engines here to start the Daytona 500.
Please direct your attention down to pit road. Our Grand Marshal Ross Johnson.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Lineup for the 29th annual Daytona 500. On the pole, third year in a row, the 85 champion Bill Elliott, and alongside for the first time, a rookie, Davey Allison, number 28. In row 2, from Fenton, Missouri, the Ford of Ken Schrader, and alongside the 75 champion Benny Parsons in a Chevrolet. For row 3, it's Darrell Waltrip with a brand new team and the two-time 500 winner Bobby Allison. In row 4, the 1980 winner Buddy Baker and last year's champion Jeff Bodine. Row 5 is Rick Wilson of Bartow, Florida, and Tennessee Sterling Marlin with a new team. In row 6, the 7-time champion Richard Petty and Harry GANT. In row 7, defending Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt and Terry Labonte with the Junior Johnson team this year. In row 8, it's Neil Bonnet, now for Raymock Racing, and Dave Marcus from Wisconsin. In row 9, from Fitchburg, Massachusetts, Ron Bouchard. From Tennessee, Mike Waltrip. In row 10, Phil Parsons is there, and alongside is Kyle Petty. Row 11, Bobby Hillen Jr. of Midland, Texas, winner of the Talladega 500, and Cale Yarborough, the 4-time 500 winner. Row 12 is Derek Cope of Spanaway, Washington, Ken Reagan of Unadilla, Georgia. Row 13, Connie Saylor and Chet Phillip from Ozana, Texas. In row 14, it's Ronnie Sanders, number 86, and Canadian Trevor Boyce. In row 15, Indianapolis 500 winner Tom Sneva and Mark Stahl from San Diego. Row 16 is Ricky Rudd in the Buckmore Ford and Rusty Wallace. Row 17, Mississippi's Lake Speed and number 67, the Arrington car for Eddie Bierswale. Row 18 is Morgan Shepherd and Rodney Combs. Going to row 19, Rookie of the Year last year, Alan Kowicki and J.D. McDuffie. For row 20, it's David Sosebee, and from Alabama, Jimmy Smut Means. Row 21, the four-time Indy winner, A.J. Foyt and Greg Sachs from Mattatuck, New York. Neil Bonnet's automobile, car number 75 for Raymark Racing. Neil Bonnet, Ken Squire at CBS Control. Do you read us?
Yes, sir, Ken. I got a good copy.
How's it going out there?
Well, it's a beautiful day for racing, and just hope it's a nice, safe day and the fans enjoy it.
How's your car this morning?
I'm sorry, Ken.
Neil, how's the car this morning? Everything going okay for car 75?
Ken, we put a brand new engine in this morning, and it looks like we're going to dyno for 500 miles. It's brand new. I'll let you know in a minute.
One lap away, and we'll be racing. Thank you very much, Neil Bonnet. Right behind the car number 3 of Dale Earnhardt. Back for the start of the Great American Race after these messages.
Their rivalry is intense. Their respect is mutual. Their meetings are classic. The Celtics confront the Lakers next on CBS Sports.
The field in the East Banking, 31 degrees. 42 cars preparing for the start. As we listen to Bill Gazaway at race control directly below our television booth at the start-finish line.
No calls.
Dick Beatty seated alongside.
Go ahead.
All right, they're looking great, Harold. Bring them down far as you can now, Harold.
Harold Kinder, the flagman. Pace car is in. Ready to hit the button and send them off.
Let it out.
Let it out.
And did Bill Elliott ever let it out, Ken?
Elliott jumps out in front as 42 engines strain to break point. Intending to play at that level for the next 500 miles if they hit turn 1. 3 wide, that track about 40 feet wide at 200 miles an hour. It shrinks to about 4 feet.
And with the second and third place cars running side by side, that lets Elliott open up, well, a little bit of a lead, just 2 car lengths.
3,000-foot long backstretch. Elliott out in front. Davey Allison, 25-year-old rookie. First rookie to ever sit in the front row, riding in second place. Live on CBS, the Daytona 500, lap 1. Elliott leads it. Davey Allison second. Ken Schrader of Benton, Missouri, riding third. They've never had a bad wreck in lap 1. Lap 3 times has had serious consequences. Fords running first, second, third in the early going of the Daytona 500. 1963, the last time there was a Ford sweep. In that year, it was Tiny Lund victorious for the Wood brothers. In second was Lorenzen. In third was Ned Jarrett. Ricky Rudd, number 15, moving around. Rusty Wallace in number 27. Lake Speed just in the bottom of the picture. Tight traffic down out of turn 4. 1,600-foot straightaway back to the 15-degree tri-oval with Neil Bonnet closing on Sterling Marlin in number 44. This at 200 miles an hour live here on CBS.
They see a bit of tire smoke coming off Sterling Marlin's right rear tire on that banking.
Rod Bouchard's car number 1. He had trouble this morning. Got his fender rumpled by a truck at the filling station when they were loading the car up.
And they had to take it back to the garage area and make repairs to the fender. I've always said it's safer on the racetrack.
You saw Ron Bouchard there give a little signal. You see his right hand went up, and he was signaling to the car immediately behind him.
Waltrip, Chevrolet, number 17, now deployed in fourth. One of the favorites to win it today. He's never won the Daytona 500.
He's won just about everything else.
And he's won here at Daytona more than anyone. With the Sportsman races, the Firecracker, but this race has eluded him. Smoke coming off of one of those 3 Ford automobiles up in front.
I believe it was tire smoke, Ken. As he went into the turn, he broke traction just a little bit, and that will cause tire smoke.
Bodine leads a covey of cars out of turn 2. He rides in 6th position.
And there in 3rd is Buddy Baker. Buddy Baker's made a grand charge from 7th spot on the grid.
Field back again into banking. Coming through 3, Baker's Oldsmobile doing a remarkable job at car number 88. Qualified well. Baker wants to win this race. Remember, he won the fastest Daytona in history at 177 miles per hour back in 1980. The fastest race, well over 188 miles an hour, Elliott at Talladega last May. Look at that tire smoke, and that's rolling out of Baker's car.
I still believe it's tire smoke as they go into the first turn. That's the sharpest turn on the race course. They really have to turn it pretty square left, almost 90 degrees there, so it will break loose occasionally.
Schrader has now slipped out from the leaders. He's running back behind Bodine. Here's Neil Bonnet closing up on Rick Wilson, the young Florida driver, who loaned his second car to A.J. Foyt after Foyt was in a 3-car crash in one of the 125-mile qualifying races.
And one of the owners of that car, Mr. Larry McClure, and all the McClure family had to go back home to Abingdon, Virginia. Their dad is very sick. We want to say hello to him today, and he can see how well the car's running.
Last lap at an average speed of 200 miles per hour. Got to think those tires wearing down. Look at Richard Petty clambering along the outside.
Tire smoke coming off Dale Earnhardt's car as well. If those guys are going to drive and smoking the tires like that, they could have a problem after about 10 laps. The tires are going to get hot, they're going to go away, and they're going to be in trouble.
The cars this year, 200 pounds lighter than we've seen them before, down from 37 to 3,500 pounds. As we watch Neil Bonnet on the inside of Richard Petty here, as they fight it out back in the 9th and 10th position. What about that weight change?
Certainly that has contributed to the higher speeds that we've seen here, Ken. And I think, too, we normally don't see that much tire smoke here at Daytona. They're running a little softer rubber compound and the higher speeds, and they're just simply getting into that turn faster than they ever have before, which is causing them to slip a little bit.
Darrell Waltrip staying right behind the leaders. You're riding right now in 4th position with Waltrip. And now you're seeing as he works that steering wheel.
Waltrip dropped back just a little bit there. He's lost quite a few car lengths to that leading trio, the 2 Fords and Buddy Baker's hanging right on there to Davey Allison and Bill Elliott.
That's what 200-mile-an-hour pressure looks like on Waltrip as he tries to catch up with 2 Fords and an Oldsmobile in those front 3 slots.
He won't want to lose that draft if he can possibly avoid it, though he's getting in a dangerous position.
Bodine in 5th, Ken Schrader in the 6th position.
Bodine was awfully pleased with the way his car was handling. He felt that he had a shot at running with the Fords here today, and he's actually picking up on them.
Running in 7th, Bobby Allison. 8th is Dale Earnhardt. 9th is Rick Wilson. 10th, Petty. Right there with Petty, Neil Bonnet. Bill Elliott, 1985 winner. When he won everything, 11 super speedway races, is out in front. He was off to a great start this year. Won in the 24 hours of Daytona, the GTO class, for Ford, assisted by Lynn St. James and Tom Gloy. Came back out here, won the Clash, as you saw it live on CBS last Sunday. Came on to take the pole, but then in the 125-mile qualifier was defeated by Ken Schrader, a margin of 4 inches. Pit report, here's Mike Joy.
I'm with Doug Richard, Buddy Baker's crew chief. Doug, what's the tire smoke off that 3rd place car?
Well, as far as we can tell, what Buddy's relayed to us over the radios is that the car's got a slight push in it, so that's right front tire just scuffing that racetrack. Also killing a little bit of speed, but we're running very well in 3rd place right now. It's very comfortable.
If that keeps up, how will you compensate for it on the pit stop?
We'll adjust the tire stagger when in the previous stops and follow the track conditions.
They have tires mounted up of all kinds of different circumference. They have these ready to go, but they'll change for another set if the car starts to handle differently for Baker. Down pit road to Dave Despain.
Richard Childress' team has the identical problem. Dale Earnhardt at the controls, the Winston Cup champion. The car's pushing Richard. Is there anything you can do to give him any help between now and the pit stop?
Not right now. Whenever he pits, we're going to try to knock the rear spoiler down maybe and open our stagger up a little more. He says it's just pushing real bad right now.
At this point in the race, is that a serious concern for you? Is it something you just adjust for and then keep on trucking?
Well, it may be better later on in the day, but right now it's really hurting us.
One of the important things to remember is that they set these cars up tight at the start of the race, knowing that they will loosen up during the course of the race. What they're shooting for is the right setup at the end of 500 miles. Ken?
Ricky Rudd has moved from 31st to 23rd. take speed from 33rd to 24th.
And young Bill Parsons has moved from 19th to 9th.
And we'll be back with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after these messages. 12 of 200 laps complete. Bill Elliott is in front. Young Davey Allison in second place. The veteran Buddy Baker is in third. Darrell Waltrip fourth. Jeff Bodine maintaining the fifth position. Further back in the field, in the sixth position is Ken Schrader, then Bobby Allison, Rick Wilson, Benny Parsons rounding out the top 10. Let's go to Chris Economaki, who can fill us in with some details about what's happening on the tires, thanks to a brand new element in our broadcast.
Well, we have this new visual aid here. It looks like any of the cars out there in the race today, courtesy of Oldsmobile, but actually they've split it down the middle here, so we can expose the engine and the suspension parts, the cutaway shock absorber, the rugged chassis construction, and all of the inner workings of the car. So now here, when Buddy Baker reported a push, he's going to come into the pits. His mechanic is going to take one of these wrenches and put it on this adjusting bolt here and take up to 3 turns to transfer weight from one side of the rear end to the other to take the push out of the right front corner of the car. This is done all race long by the mechanics. So we'll come back to this car from time to time as the race wears on. And now let's go down pit road to my colleague Dave Despain.
Frantic activity in the A.J. Foyt pit. It's been a terrible week for Foyt. He crashed in a qualifying race. Borrowed a backup car from Rick Wilson, started it at the back of the field. The car has gone on 7 cylinders. The motor is not running at full power. He missed the pits twice coming in. They come in under the yellow to try to make repairs, but that is a sick race car heading up pit road.
We're just seeing a change at third place. Bodine has slipped to the inside, and he has picked up Davey Allison's slot, and he drags with him Schrader into fourth.
Well, the Fords are certainly putting on a good show at the head of the field, but the GM products are right behind. Of course, Jeff Bodine, last year's winner,
that's Phil Parsons. Good. That's Phil Parsons in 9th position, car number 55. Phil having a good run in what was his brother's car. Benny Parsons taking over for the sick Tim Richmond, not in the Daytona 500, hopes to be back within a month. Back with the leaders. Look at Baker just keep pouring it on here as he closes that Oldsmobile back up on the T-Bird.
He is in his heyday, Ken. He likes nothing better than to run on a super speedway where they run extremely fast and running right up at the front. Boy, he's feeling good.
Now you see in the 3rd position, Bodine, then in 4th position, Waltrip. In 5th is the Schrader car. Watch Baker here as he intends to move on the inside. He looks like he wants to go for it. Put his colors up in front for a while.
Wouldn't surprise me at all to see him size Bill Elliott up and try to drag right past him.
Eddie Bierswell getting lapped.
Starting to get into quite a bit of lap traffic now as they come off 4. Here goes Buddy Baker underneath. Bill Elliott as they come out of 4.
Over the bump in turn 4. Baker tucks in as they come to the tri-oval. The number 9 car has been loose in the tri-oval for the last several days.
And Baker's car is stuck exceptionally well down on the inside, so that means the car is really handling when you can stick on the inside and not straight loose.
Meanwhile, car number 11, that's Terry Labonte, now driving for Junior Johnson. What was the Darrell Waltrip ride is pulling on a pit road. He was black flagged, he was smoking. He'd moved up into 20th and fallen back. Here he is, there's Junior out holding the sign to bring him to a stop, and there's real problems on car number 11, and they were hoping for a great day today.
Well, Terry Labonte's had an absolutely appalling week. I mean, he got pushed out at about the first 300 yards of the Busch Clash last Sunday, and nearly got involved in a crash in the 125-mile qualifying heat, so not his week.
Benny Parsons moving to 9th, going under his brother Phil in the number 66 car as they come out of turn 4, and he waves to him there.
Yes, he does. He said, "Thanks, brother, for letting me by."
Another family scene.
13 Fords, 11 Chevrolets, 9 Oldsmobiles, 6 Pontiacs, and 3 Buicks started the race. Richard Petty on the high side, Sterling Marlin, number 44 down low, and that number 21 is Kyle Petty, Richard's son, right beneath him. More in a moment.
Next Saturday, crowd thriller Bobby Ches will defend his IBF world title against the force of Willie Edwards next weekend on CBS Sports Saturday.
Well, after 20 laps, we have a new record at 198 miles per hour. Bill Elliott's been leading most of the way. There you see the top 5 at the present time. Schrader back and forth. Darrell Waltrip is maintaining the 5th position. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Terry LABONTE is making his debut with the Junior Johnson crew. He crashed in the Busch Clash, had a near miss in the 125. Now he's come in to avoid the black flag. Jeff Hammond, crew chief, what's the problem?
Well, it seems like we had to change the engine this morning, and apparently the valve covers we had on the car weren't exactly what we needed. It's been blowing a little oil out the valve covers. We did a little bit of work, closed off some of the breather passages, and hopefully that's going to take care of the problem.
What prompted the engine change this morning? Was that routine or a problem?
Well, we just felt like we need a little bit more engine for the day, and so we went back here and decided to make the change yesterday afternoon. So, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and right now we kind of made a bad choice, I reckon.
One of the top teams in the business, Junior Johnson's organization, has fallen several laps down early in the 500. Let's go down pit road to Mike Joy.
Well, Dave, we're back in the garage area with A.J. Foyt. And, A.J., that thing was flying. You picked up 12 spots in the first 10 laps.
Yeah, we was picking our nose. The car was absolutely flying. And I don't know, I think one of the guys left the spark plug wire on the header and burned it, too, or either dropped a valve. It's just damn shame what's going on with my crew, why they can't get their heads together.
Things sure ran well, though, for a rental car.
Yeah, well, that was all our motor and, our suspension. And Larry McClure was nice enough, and Rick Wilson lets us borrow the chassis. Dick Hutchinson builds my car and helps build theirs. So all I can do is thank all the people who made it possible to run those few laps as fast as we did, because the car was absolutely operating.
Sorry it's been such a short day.
It really has. I think that had to contend with us a little later on today.
I think so, too. Ken?
A.J. Foyt, first here back in the 1964 Firecracker 400 when he just beat Bobby Isaac on the last lap. 22nd consecutive start for A.J. and short today. Terry LABONTE's pit road stay was 1 minute 19 seconds. Meanwhile, some of those other runners are pouring up through the field.
Lake Speed, who we saw run second in this race back in 1985 to Bill Elliott, has moved from 33rd to 15th, and Ricky Rudd is also moving up now. He's moved up to 18th from way back in the pack.
That car of Buddy Baker's is still laying a lot of smoke as he goes through turn 1 and 2, which really can't be too good for his tyre wear. Well, not so much tyre wear, but tyre performance.
Lapping Trevor Boyce and the silver number 6, the Canadian driver, are the two leaders, and Baker just will not give up. So much at stake. Careers, futures, sponsorship. Baker giving it everything he's got in the early going. Again, we have a new record for the first 20 laps, 198.020 mile-an-hour average, breaking the mark of 197.5 by Dale Earnhardt back in '86, a year back. There's a pretty good scramble as you watch Jeff Bodine in car number 5 scooting down the back straightaway. There's the leaders again.
The leading duo, number 9 there, Bill Elliott and Buddy Baker, have put a bit of daylight between themselves in that third spot car of Jeff Bodine, who's being hounded pretty closely by Ken Schrader. And they've also put quite a bit of daylight between them and the other Hendricks car of Darrell Waltrip, who's dropping back a bit.
Another major development, Waltrip has fallen back 2 positions to 7th as Davey Allison and Rick Wilson have picked up 5th and 6th. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, I'm sitting in the driving position in our little Visual Age Oldsmobile here, strapped in with a heavy seat belt, lap belt, groin belt. This is where the drivers are, the way they look at it, out the window, and when they want to check how the engine is doing and the various things, they look at the dashboard, and these dials are all set in at various angles, and they know that when everything is straight up, all is well. And when things are not all well, and the driver has to get out of the car in a hurry, he pulls his pin and takes off the steering wheel and climbs out to safety. Back to you, Ken.
Now there's Jeff Bodine in the car they call the Stars and Stripes out of the Rick Hendrick stable. You can see where his dials are right there.
That steering wheel incident, gives me a cause. The other night I was having dinner and A.J. Foyt was in there and he was chuckling away talking to his friend Hutchinson. And he said, God damn it, he said, I got on the pitch. He said, no, I just hunched myself up in the seat. And he said, no, I just pulling myself together. He said, and the wheel came up, and the wheel came up in his hand, and he had just done a 3-lap run, and it had no pin in it, and he just hadn't happened to pull on the wheel. Wow. And he got in the pits, hunched himself in the seat, and the wheel came up in his hand. So that made him, maybe that was one of the other comments he made about the crew just then.
Yes, he had a short, succinct comment for the crew when he came in, but of course that's driver error too. I mean, if you don't check the pin on the steering wheel, you have to take some responsibility.
I must say, it's one of those things that these days I always give it a good old pull before I sell up out the pitch.
I bet he will the next time.
Boy, I tell you.
Jeff Bodine, car number 5, maintaining 3rd position. There's Schrader right behind him in that 4th position. We'll return with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station. part of the crowd right here at the start-finish line, enjoying a beautiful day in Florida and a sensational race. It's Ford versus Oldsmobile up in front. Bill Elliott has secured the lead from the beginning, and Buddy Baker is driving fantastically in second position, just waiting his time, Ned.
Surprisingly, he has not tried to pass Bill Elliott, but he realizes, Ken, that as a result of them running together, that they've been able to pull away from the third and fourth and fifth place cars, so he's content to run there in second place. A little unusual for Buddy Baker, but he's a smart driver, too.
Elliott started on the pole. Baker came from seventh position.
Well, those two have hooked up in a good draft, and of course right behind them is another Ford, the Ford of Ken Schrader, following closely behind Jeff Bodine, and I'm sure they're trying to make that little gap back up to the leading duo. And there's that tire of Buddy Baker, still smoky as he goes through turns 1 and 2.
31 laps complete, getting out towards the end of range on fuel here.
Yes,
pit stops under green will be coming up.
Between laps 35 and 40, they'll be coming in for fuel. We've had 4 cars dropped out of the race so far, Ken. Rusty Wallace dropped out early on lap 12 with a drop valve. Connie Saylor is out. A.J. Foyt, of course, we heard from, and Chet Phillip now has dropped out of the race.
New record for 30 laps. 197.802 miles per hour by this man. Number 9, Elliott, flying that Ford Thunderbird. Baker, relentless, staying there in second, and you can see Bodine in the Chevrolet closing from third.
Beginning to move in on him. They are close enough now that they can pick up the draft of those front 2 cars.
And we'll be back to a 4-car draft for the lead again. I think these guys are being very content today to try and make this a record race, and they're going to do all their shuffling around as they get down to the end of this race.
There you see the front 4. Then coming through in 5th and 6th, Davey Allison and Rick Wilson. There's Wilson on the inside, making a pass. Wilson picking up 5th position right there from Davey Allison. Just in front of them is car number 90. That number 90 car has been motoring along. You see him right behind Bodine, the yellow car Bodine, and then comes number 90, Ken Schrader, who upset Elliott on the finish line last Thursday and won by 4 inches. The Junie Donlavey racing team out of Virginia, the driver in number 90 from Missouri. What a great run he's making, and this is his 3rd race. Last year he didn't even get to run a lap before the car went away. Running up front is a new experience for him, and we asked him if he was intimidated by the other drivers in this event.
Well, not really. You know, we've run up front of a lot of races back in the Midwest, and that sprint car and midget races, and you know, we know what it's like to run up front. We just haven't run up front down here, but you know, we know that it's going to be different, but we're not going to try to get shoved around a whole lot. We're going to keep in there like we want to.
It's very easy to fall into the trap of thinking just because someone's a rookie here that therefore he's a rookie. But Ken Schrader's no spring chicken. He's 31 years old and has done hundreds of races, so he's a pretty experienced driver, really.
And has won a lot of races and championships in other forms of racing.
Exactly. And of
sprint
course,
car champion. We're beginning to see pit stops. On pit road, Earnhardt is coming in. Also pulling on the pit road is Ricky Rudd. Now, we're 35 laps, 34 laps have been completed, working 35. And we have a new record, most consecutive laps led from the start in Daytona history. The old record was Buddy Baker, leading the first 33 laps way back in 1973. Scratch it. Elliott's now led 34. He's now going to lead 35. About to put a lap on Terry Labonte in car number 11.
Why would you think they would stop quite as early as lap 34 to make some adjustments to the cars sooner rather than later?
I think that's one thing, David, but on the first pit stop, even though they ran the 125-mile qualifying races, it was not the true test of fuel mileage with all the cars on the racetrack. They don't want to run out of gas out there, so they'll come in a little bit earlier this time, check the fuel mileage, and then maybe be able to go a little further from here on out.
Okay, because we've got a whole flock more. We've got Kyle Petty and Sterling Marlin on pit lane as well, as is Trevor Boyce from Canada.
36 laps, 90 miles complete.
Bill Elliott slowing down. Bill Elliott's going to come in this time. Buddy Baker still going on.
Baker's going for the lead. He'll pick up 5 points as he battles for the Winston Cup Championship as well. Coming across the line, Alan Kowicki.
A whole block of them coming on this lap.
Now we're watching as Schrader pits. Rick Wilson comes in. And this early run under green fills up the pit road. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Bill Elliott is in for service. 22 gallons of gasoline. The car stalls. It refires. 2 right side tires. And the jack man, Butch Stevens, with a wrench in case they need a chassis adjustment. Very, very tense having to make this first pit stop under green. A lot of pressure. They complete it. He's on his way to Ken Squire.
The activity on pit road. Here is Elliott. Here's Waltrip in car number 17. Live pictures here on CBS from inside Waltrip's car as they service the machine and hustle him back out.
The pit stop by Bill Elliott was 17.2 seconds. Ken Schrader got out 16 seconds.
Apparently, car number 28 is low. We're watching the Davey Allison car blowing up.
Well, apparently he overshot his pits, Ken, as he went down pit road.
They say he may have blown coming out in a 28 car.
That is just exactly the sort of thing I meant right at the top of the show, when experience everywhere, on the track, behind the wheel, and in the pits counts for a lot. That little mistake there could cost him this race.
Now, they have tried so hard with this Robert Yates Knuckles crew. Here's Baker getting out.
Good stop for Baker, that must have been. Cale Yarborough now. Cale Yarborough not having a good weekend at all. There we see Richard Petty. There you see the mechanic's legs sticking out the window as he's obviously going in there to make some adjustments to those rear springs.
They used to reach in through the rear window and do that. Of course, the little window that they have a window in there, so they do have to go inside the car. It'd be interesting to see how Baker and Elliott come back out on the track once these pit stops are all completed, how close they are to each other.
Jeff Bodine took the lead, then pitted. There's Cale in the 29 car. Here's Mike Joy.
Jeff Bodine, again, this is routine service, but it's got to be done at speed. Every second lost in the pits, that's 100 yards out on the racetrack as we run under the green. Bodine sits calmly, watching the circus run around beyond him. Wipe of the windshield, tires, gas, gone.
That was a little longer than it should have taken, Ken. A good pit stop nowadays is 15 seconds or under, a certain 16 runner.
Gas tank hanging out of one automobile as it comes back on the track. It doesn't look like it's on the wrong side, but that's 28. That's Davey Allison.
There's something
really wrong.
It even looked like the left rear wheel is leaning in on that car, but maybe that's just the camera angle, but Davey Allison certainly not getting up to speed.
Robert Yates was driving that car, and Joey Knuckles and the crew were practicing with that machine. Their pit stops up in Charlotte, North Carolina. They borrowed some concrete barriers. Car number 4, Rick Wilson, just went behind the wall.
Rick Wilson running very, very strongly in this event. Yeah, that's a great shame.
There's Davey Allison's car limping out of turn number 2. This is all happening under green. We'll be back with more on the Allison story and the 500 in a moment.
This Wednesday, it's a special 2-hour Magnum. And next Wednesday...
What do you want? I want the truth.
Frank Sinatra, guest stars.
We are back with you live here at the Daytona Speedway. Moments ago, Davey Allison's car number 28, which is being pushed in, lost the right rear tire, indicative that they just didn't get it bolted on. Lug nuts weren't there, and away it came. This was up in turns 3 and 4. The car finally came to a halt, and it is an opportunity for these thirsty bunches to get into pit road. Let's go to Mike Joy quickly.
Buddy Baker on pit road. You see 6 men over the wall and an awful lot of hands and half a leg. In addition to the 6 guys that work right on the car, a whole bunch help service it from behind the wall. A little bit more on that in a moment. To Dave Despain.
Robert Yates from the Davey Allison crew. What happened?
Well, he came in for a pit stop, and the jack wouldn't come all the way up. It picked the front tire up, and it wouldn't pick up the rear tire. The lug nuts were off. They went to get another jack. By the time they got the car jacked up, you know, when they pull that jack out, and to put the other jack in, he thought that's his sign to go, so he took off without any lug nuts on the rear. Backed up, and didn't get any lug nuts on. So the wheel came off, and it just sitting there grinding the rear.
Can he get back into the pits? Can he get back into the pits, or are they going to have to get a record on it?
Well, we'll have to change the rear hub, and we should be able to get back in the race.
They hope to get back in the race. It began with a jack malfunction and then was compounded by driver error. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, it reminds one of the days of gasoline rationing here in the gasoline station in the garage area at the Daytona International Speedway, but that's not the case. Once the 2 cans holding 10 gallons apiece are emptied into the car, the crewmen rush to the gas station to get refill from the pumps here. Each can holds 10 gallons, but the interesting point is that it takes 1 minute and 8 seconds to fill this can. It takes about 8 seconds to empty it into the race car. They'll go back to their pit and they'll make repeated trips back and forth to the gas station here for the refueling. Too much gas in the pits is a fire hazard, so they're only allowed to have 2 of these 10-gallon cans at pit side at any one time. Now back to you, Ken.
Completing the 43rd lap this time by, majority of the field has been on pit road. We're in the first caution of the day, experienced after car number 28, Davey Allison, Hueytown, Alabama. Alabama in the Rainier-Lundy car had trouble in turn number 2 and had the right rear tire come off. You heard Robert Yates, the explanation. Right now, here's the Budweiser race summary, brought to you by the King of Beers. We've had 3 leader changes and 3 changes among those people. The average speed 193 miles an hour as it drops down after that great 197 pace, and we're under caution for the first time. 7 cars out of the race. By cracky, that's a lot out this early.
It really is, just over 100 miles.
When you're averaging 197 miles an hour, it's putting a lot of stress and strain on these cars, and if they keep this up, there's going to be a few more fall by the wayside.
The Goodyear blimp, opportunity to see this great 455-acre facility, 2.5-mile high bank track where an estimated 125,000 have gathered today to watch the action. We talk a lot about the importance of a well-executed pit stop, but it's really hard to imagine what one tiny last second in the pits means on the racetrack. Ned Jarrett has a demonstration.
The pit stops are the highest pressure situation for the crew chief.
One miscue can get you in much trouble as missing the pits completely and having to go all the way around.
It doesn't take but a second or two for a good pit stop to become a bad pit stop.
It makes the driver feel terrible, but just think about the poor guy that had the problem.
To the trained eye, a pit stop can be something beautiful. Six men over the wall, their every move choreographed by the crew chief like a well-orchestrated ballet.
They're almost a cross between, I guess you'd say, a Sylvester Stallone and a Baryshnikov, because we're part ballerina, and at the same time we feel like we're a bunch of macho guys.
It's not Swan Lake, but whether it's pirouettes or pit stops, you stay on your toes the same way. Practice. No crowd cheer at practice, there's no glory. And when you're through, you do it all over again and again. On most routine pit stops, at least 9 functions are underway. 9 or more things which can go wrong. Nothing major, you might never see it, but the tiniest delay here can mean major problems on the racetrack.
We all make mistakes at one time or other, and every little mistake you make, every second you lose is very costly.
Boy, if we lose this race in the pits, we're going to be in bad shape publicly. You know, that we may not be able to face our families when we get home.
When you come in on a pit stop, you have a certain job planned out, and you have to do it fast as you can, because every second's like a football field on a racetrack.
That seemed hard to believe, so Jim Bachhoven's Daytona crew set up some goalposts for us. Here's a pit stop. And here comes Terry Labonte. 1 second could be the difference between first and 10th. If you're still not convinced of the human factor in a pit stop, a world-class sprinter runs 100 yards in about 9.1 seconds. The world record for a quarter horse is about half that. You give them both a 90-yard head start, and here comes a stock car covering 100 yards in just under a second. 500 miles of racing. The margin of victory may be a fraction of a second saved in the pits, but emotionally, the difference is incomprehensible. The joy of taking the checkered flag is most often associated with the driver, but that feeling is definitely earned by the men in the pits, the men with the most thankless job in racing. A race-winning performance is rarely recognized, but a simple mistake is noticed by millions. A second may not seem like much to you and me, but for the men in the pits, it lasts a lifetime.
We are just a half lap back into green after the caution period created when Davey Allison had one of those pit problems. And you're watching Buddy Baker in car number 88, lapping rookie Alan Kowicki. Baker, a 19-time winner in Winston Cup racing, in the lead. And from Jeff Bodine's car, you're watching live as Bodine tries to bring his Chevrolet up on the rear bumper of the Oldsmobile in front.
And Ken, for the first time today, Bill Elliott finds himself back in 5th place after the round of pit stop stop during the caution flag. We'll see what he is really made of now. Can he run in traffic as well as he did out front?
One car just brushed the wall up here in 4, Ken Reagan of Untitled, Georgia. And there's a smoker. That's Eddie Bierswell, I think, in the Buddy Arrington Ford down at the bottom of the racetrack. We're just back under green. Here's Arrington's car down, the 67 car. Reagan's car, we understand, is the car that just grazed the wall up here in 4. Baker out in front. A team that he created a year ago. He's part owner with Danny Schiff. And right now, this race is theirs. But there's a long way to go. 46 laps are now complete. They're only 115 miles into the distance of the 29th running of the Daytona 500.
The pit stop during the caution period gave a lot of them an opportunity to make those needed adjustments on the cars. Once they got out in the traffic, see how the track is today. It's warm outside, so they had to make a lot of adjustments. We might see some cars running up front that we haven't seen before.
You can already see the residue collecting on Neil Bonnet's windshield. Car number 75.
You know, it looks almost impossible to see through that windshield, Ken. You wonder, how did they do that at 200 miles an hour? But, David, it seems that your eyes sort of adjust to it.
Well, they do adjust to it. Of course, it's not only residue on there. The windshields here get blasted by sand.
But look at this shot. Now, that's that shot from down low out of the back of the car, from where the tail light is, and it really gives you another sense of the tremendous speed. We are under caution another time. There may be some debris on the track. This is coming at lap 48. As they complete 48, we go back under caution, and there you see Baker still in first. 17 times he's won on super speedways. Buddy Baker, the guy they refer to as the gentle giant, 6'4", 5. And let's take a look at the leaderboard here at the Daytona Speedway. Baker in first, Bodine in second, Elliott back to third after that series of pit stops, Bobby Allison in fourth, and Benny Parsons is in fifth. Maintaining sixth is Waltrip, seventh is Petty, eighth is Lake Speed, ninth is Schrader, and 10th is Earnhardt. More live coverage on CBS from Daytona after this. With Ned Jarrett and David Hobbs topside, I'm Ken Squire. Down to the trenches, it is Mike Joy today, Dave Despain, Chris Economaki along. Let's take a look at what developed. It created a caution for us, the second one of the day. It happened just out of turn 4, and Neil Bonnet's camera gives us the best vantage point. There you see the blue and red car, number 67, in front of the two cars directly in front of Bonnet. Now watch his engine give way. It blows right here, and apparently scattered some parts, puts out a little bit of fog and smoke.
Perhaps a little bit of oil on the track as well, as he pulls to the inside of the racetrack very wisely. Of course, Bonnet and the rest of the car is able to go by on the outside.
And it was at that moment that Ken Reagan in the 77 just touched the outside wall at about 190 miles per hour. Giacomo from Poughkeepsie, New York, attempting to qualify. He hit at 100 and did not get a chance to go out here and run the 125-mile qualifiers. Again, the standings with 50 laps complete. A quarter of the distance. Baker in first, Bodine maintaining that second position, Elliott, Allison, Parsons. And I think we're about a lap away from putting this race back under green.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been a very long caution. I don't think there was any debris out of that crash, because he just did scrape the wall. As you said, he only lightly touched the wall, but if you're going to do it at 190, that's the best way to do it, just lightly.
Here's Mike Joy.
I'm with the crew chief of the lead car, Doug Rickard. Doug, 6 guys go over the wall to service this car. What does everybody else here do?
Well, while they're out there trying to make their 12 and 13-second pit stop, we have a man located right here, and he frantically goes across there. He scrubs that windshield. He goes out with his pole. He wipes that thing off so the driver can get a clear shot. We have a man that hands him the water pole. He sticks that thing out there, stretches without going over the wall, so we don't have a 15-second penalty by NASCAR. Our third man over here has the second can ready to be disposed into the car at any time.
And there's about 5 more people back here doing lap charts, back up on the two-way radio, chasing and selecting tires to go on that race car, all helping make it work better. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
The busiest place at the Daytona International Speedway during the month of February is the garage area, packed with cars, drivers, crew members, members of the press, company and accessory members, family members. You can't move in here. But on race day, it becomes a ghost town. All the action is out on the track. And if there is a car in the garage area before the race is over, it means he's had trouble, he's out of the race, and he's going home early. Back to you, Ken.
Sad break for Buddy Arrington's team that had their share of misfortune a year ago. If Rick Baldwin is listening, we send along our best wishes to him.
Buddy, of course, giving up the driving chores this year after some 20 years as a driver. He says, I'm not officially retired. I want to keep that just in case I get the urge and want to get back out there. So he's not making it official that he's retired, but he did turn the driving chores over to Eddie Beerswald from Texas.
Well, there you see Darrell Waltrip's car, number 17, which is running in the 6th position. Here's the number of Sanders down on the inside. What's that, 86, 83? Bernie Sanders' car. And guess who's coming back out again? Davey Allison back in the race, several laps down, number 28. Has all 4 wheels.
Boy, that's
nailed on.
Not only a frustrating situation, but also an embarrassing situation.
Well, the point made that the Rainier Lundy team had spent so much time on pit stops. They had actually gotten some concrete barriers up in Charlotte and practiced those pit stops. Had Robert Yates drive in. They videotaped them. They've worked for 2 or 3 weeks on nothing but pit stops and making that crew more cohesive. And now you see what happened. Out of the race. And there you see the reasons why. And the good news is we haven't seen anybody in serious trouble out here yet today, David.
Well, I sincerely hope we can go through the race without seeing anybody in serious trouble. If we can just get a fair crack here under the green, we should push this race average up near the record again of Buddy Baker's, who, of course, today is also running incredibly strongly here at Daytona.
Speed has dropped down to 172 miles per hour with this second caution period. The record is 191. We're getting set to turn them loose another time at Daytona in the Great American Race. Up in front as they come down, Buddy Baker. Correction on that start. Well, Baker dropped to the inside. He took the lap cars move as he came down through, and Bodine pulled right up beside him. There's Bodine popping out in front. Baker falls to second place immediately as the flag was dropped by Harold Kinder.
A little surprising. Baker's been getting good restarts before. Maybe he missed a gear a little bit. I don't know.
Maybe he wanted to hitchhike again. He certainly took a nice ride as we look at Buddy Baker pull up and say hello to the leader, Jeff Bodine, at 200 miles an hour. Now he guns for the inside. You're with the leader, Bodine, 1986 champion. And Buddy Baker, the 1980 winner, down on the inside. Flats it right out through the 3rd and 4th turn. Has it on the mat. Back they come down the tri-oval side by side. Tremendous battle as they come to the line. You could call that one a dead heat as they came to the stripe.
You can see Baker's car when he pulled up beside of him in the turns, it got a little bit loose. Then he came on back by as he came into turn 1. Is he going to be able to hold it? Looks like it.
Baker lets that back end out. There you see Bill Elliott right on the rear bumper of Bodine in 3rd.
He sure is right on his bumper.
And also into the picture comes Benny Parsons. Parsons on the move in that Tim Richmond car.
Battling beside of Bobby Allison, 2 real veterans.
Oldsmobile in 1st, Chevrolet in 2nd, Ford maintaining 3rd, Chevrolet in 4th, Buick in 5th. It's an all-American field. American manufacturers gathering at Daytona. They have since about 1902 when Ransom Olds, a young mechanic, with a car called the Pirate, faced Alexander Winton with a car called the Bullet and got it all going. That 3,000-foot-long back straightaway. Bodine willing to wait a moment. Ride in Baker's wake.
And there going high at the back of that group is Richard Petty, who's moved up to 8th position, running very strongly now. He made some adjustments, but we saw his cousin Dale Inman with his legs sticking out of the car, so maybe those adjustments paid off for Richard Petty there.
From the blimp, let's follow them around. 1 lap here. See some of this crowd estimated at 125,000 peering on. People everywhere, every seat sold out for today's race. There's the 31-degree banking, and on the inside you see Bill Elliott scooting underneath Bodine and taking 2nd place as they go down that long back straightaway.
I wondered how long he'd sit back there in 3rd. It looks like his car will work in the draft. He had run out front most of the race, or in the early part of it. Now let's see what he can do with Baker running in front. Baker ran behind him for the first 100 miles.
The Goodyear Blimp Enterprise from Pompano Beach, Florida, giving us this incredible view of the Great American Race.
It certainly gives you a good idea of how steep that banking is when you look straight down. It's like looking at them go around the inside of a wall.
Main straightaway. Baker has the advantage at 200.445 miles per hour.
And there comes Dale Earnhardt into the picture. He's up to the lead group for the first time. He was languishing rather before that round of pit stops, but here he is right in that lead group.
55 laps complete. Further back in the field, there's Davey Allison, the 20. There's the 1 car, Bouchard. And he pulls up beside Mattituck, New York's Greg Sachs in the 50. And just behind him is Davey Allison in the 28 car, who is running 13 laps down to the leaders. There's Davey. Sanders' car again, and Ken Reagan in the 77. Back with the leaders. 56 laps complete this time by. 5-6 complete. Earnhardt past Waltrip. Whoa, what a move.
And Bill Elliott's moved right up on Buddy Baker in the front of this group. There you see them going under the commentary box through the trioval.
Remember that Earnhardt came in here last year, led this race, looked like he was going to take it all, and ran out of fuel with 3 laps to go. More of the 29th Daytona 500 in a moment. They say that race fans are born with igloo coolers in one hand and seat cushions in the other and funny-looking ears. And there's one right there. 59 of 200 laps complete. Baker, Elliott, Bodine, Allison, and Petty, the top 5 here as we run the Daytona 500 once again. The most important stock car race of the year. $1.5 million at stake. And Buddy Baker's trying to put his name on it with car 88 up in front. But just as big a story, Richard Petty still trying to get back in winning form after taking his 200th victory here at Daytona in the Firecracker 400 a couple of years back, is going toe-to-toe with Dale Earnhardt in number 3. There you see Richard rim riding on the high side in that familiar car. Richard Petty in 5th, Earnhardt right with him, nip and tuck taking that position back and forth.
Yeah, in his familiar place too, right up by the wall.
He likes to run high.
That's the kid's groove. Now let's take a look at Kyle Petty, further back in the pack, car number 21. Kyle Petty at the present time outside of the top 10, outside the top 15.
But he's at the back of that lead pack. And the speed has picked up. We have a cloud cover that's moved over. Don't see a thread of rain, but it has cooled the racing surface, which will increase the speeds.
Look at this 15-16 car graph for the lead. Rush hour between 42nd and 43rd Street in New York at 200 miles an hour. Richard Petty up on the high side. There's Waltrip. He has fallen back in the 17 car to the 7th position. Richard Petty looks like he has the legs today. What a surprise. Dale Inman's crew said all week that their confidence level was right up there. But everybody says that for this race.
Yes, they do. Everyone works hard through the winter and come here with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of confidence as well. But I'll tell you, Ken, as the race goes on, it'll come to Richard Petty. He sets his car up tight to run better on a slick racetrack. The longer they run, the slicker the track will get, and the better it suits him, especially up in that groove.
Earnhardt sideways into Petty.
Absolutely, they're touching each other. They went through the trioval.
One of the old saws of racing, it goes back to your days, was if 43 was in the lead lap at the halfway of a race, pack your toolboxes and go home because they would go for the win.
That's true.
Here's Mike Joy.
Comes to Daytona with more confidence than Richard Petty. His cousin Dale Inman is crew chief. Dale, it's a good thing you didn't have the view of that we did, because he and Dale looked like they traded a little paint.
Well, they got a little bit close there. They're 2 pretty good drivers. They'll take care of each other.
Richard, what has accounted for his sudden march to the front?
Well, we hadn't got to the front yet, but we're running a little bit better than we did start with. We put a little bit of wedge in the car, and it seems to be working a little bit better right now.
It's working a lot better. It is a tough ladder to climb, and he's worked it all the way to 5th position. Here's Dave Despain.
What is the most expensive part of one of these race cars? Not the engine, not the chassis. It's the paint job. It costs about $2 million to run one of these teams for a year. The money comes from big sponsors, and there are a couple of unique sponsors in this event. Up front, Crisco on the Oldsmobile. Charging up through the field, Tide, a laundry detergent. With me is Alexis Liris, who was the marketing manager for NASCAR for many years, now with Melling Racing. Why the emphasis on women's products? How has Madison Avenue found that an attractive way to go?
I think NASCAR has finally listened. The Madison Avenue people have listened to NASCAR. The demographics show that anywhere from 44 to 47% of our fans are women, and they buy the products. Our car is an accurate reflection of what it was. The Melling automotive products, the Coors beer, the cigarettes. But you look down pit road now, you see Piedmont Airlines, Red Baron frozen pizza, Kraft Bullseye barbecue sauce. I mean, you have something that's appealing to women because the sport appeals to women, especially in the Southeast, Dave. The people in the major companies are realizing that to market their product in the Southeast, this is the sport to do it with.
Nearly half the women in the grandstand, nearly half the fans in the grandstand today are women. That's why Tide and Crisco are here.
And right now they're cheering for the Crisco kid. It's Baker out in front of that car number 88. She's got her eye on him.
If you like Ken Squire and you spill your Crisco fat on your tie at breakfast, you can always wash it out with a bit of Tide.
I like what Earnhardt said. He said, you don't have to call him that. You can call him Lard. Poor Baker.
Nicknamed Waltrip Bubbles now.
Yes, he's nicknamed Darrell Waltrip Bubbles. Earnhardt and Waltrip have their own battle going of words. And one of the best quotes of the early season here back in January when it was heating up, Waltrip right here at number 17 said, the shark is ready. And Earnhardt said, I'm going fishing.
Well, they're having their own battle on the racetrack right now. Waltrip trying to catch up to Dale Earnhardt as he tries to pass Richard Petty once again.
That Earnhardt-Petty battle is one heck of a battle. And, of course, right behind them is our camera car, Darrell Waltrip. And right behind him is Benny Parsons in the other Rick Hendrick car. So we've got 3 Rick Hendrick cars in the top 5 spots here right now.
Ooh, look at Baker, the Petty car, and that number 3. That Petty car all the way on the high side, and 3 looks like it's ready to break loose Earnhardt all the time.
Well,
now
look at Petty. Down on the inside, making it 3 deep, going into turn 3.
And from the in-car camera, upper right of your screen, we can get a view of what it looked like from Darrell Waltrip's vantage point.
But Dale Earnhardt came out of that skirmish ahead.
And now they've both taken Jeff Bodine in the car number 5. Now that's close together, though.
Petty had to make a snappy move around the left automobile. Car number 12, David Soseby. Soseby running very slow down to the bottom of the racetrack. Driver out of Dawsonville, Georgia. The famous Soseby name from way back. His dad won here on the beach back in the 50s. Richard Petty closing up on Jeff Bodine another time. We'll return with more live coverage of the Daytona 500 after this word from your local station.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. Skin Bracer Aftershave takes care of men who take care of their skin. Skin Bracer by Menon. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil.
The leaders are hooked up in a draft. They are pulling away from the third-place car by 2 1/10 seconds with 71 laps complete in the 1987 Daytona 500, 177.5 miles deep into the race. Further back in the field, here's Jeff Bodine, and here's another good battle. That is the number 90, Ken Schrader, and he is currently working on number 55. That is Phil Parsons, but the story for the last 4 or 5 laps there has been the car of Lake Speed, that number 83 car. Lake Speed started 33rd in this race. There you see him back with Harry Gant, and he has really moved up. He's in 11th place at the present time.
Having an awfully good run. He owns his own team now, Ken. He was ousted from the Raymont car number 75 that Neil Weinstein early in the season last year. Started to work, build his own team, and is here running in his first race with it, looking very good.
Meanwhile, Richard Petty is pulled into 3rd behind this pair. There you see that interval. It's a biggie. Biggest advantage anyone has enjoyed in the race, and they've had to go almost 200 miles to find it. It's now 2.5 seconds from 2nd to 3rd, from Bill Elliott's number 9 back to Richard Petty. On pit road, I believe that's Kyle Petty's car.
It is.
Well, Richard Petty actually has done a pretty impressive pull back through the field himself, because just soon after we went to green, not so long ago, he was languishing back in 9th spot, and now he's pulled pretty clear into 3rd behind these two who've really put some distance between themselves and himself with this 2-car draft.
It's interesting how Bill Elliott has just sat there on the back bumper of Buddy Baker, reverse of what they were earlier in the race, content to ride there. Maybe he can't do anything about it, or maybe he's just sitting there riding.
And here behind these two leaders, 2.5 seconds back, is Richard Petty's car number 43, and then it's about 25 car lengths back to number 3, Earnhardt. There's Petty in 43. He's a 7-time winner here in the Daytona 500. Richard, is it harder to win now?
I think it's more competition now than what we used to have to run against. There's more good cars. They run a little bit better. You know, they handle a little better. They got better pit crews. And so your strategy's got to be more of a gung-ho situation. You can't just wait for something to happen to other cars. You got to go out and outrun them. Used to, if somebody outrun you, didn't worry about it because most of the time they'd have trouble. But, you know, when you really get down to the overall picture at the end of the race and you look back on the races and stuff, they're won today just like they were 5 years ago or 20 years ago.
Richard Petty in third place. Here's Mike Joy.
A moment ago, you mentioned Lake Speed, who has gained more positions since the start of this race than anyone in the field. His veteran crew chief is Darrell Bryant, and he is really climbing his way up through traffic.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good right now, Mike. We're just a little loose on this set of tires. We can come up and the tires get hot. We fall back a couple positions. Then they'll cool off and we can come right back up. But we're pleased right now the way the car is running.
So more caution flags rather than less would benefit you.
I can't understand that.
I say more caution flags would benefit you. You get more chances to change and get fresh rubber.
That's right. This is a brand new car, and well, in fact, a brand new team, as you well know, and we're not too familiar with the car, so we're just having to kind of adjust as we go along. But right now, we're real pleased with the things running.
But they're far from the only team that's complaining of a loose handling race car. Take a look at Earnhardt. Ken?
Lake Speed now in 12th position. There are the leaders. Baker in that first position out of turn number 4. Wigwags just a little. Elliott stays right there, secure in second position. Looks like he's willing to stay and hold on for a while. Taking a look at the leaderboard here with Buddy Baker first. In second, Bill Elliott. Third, Richard Petty. In the fourth position, look further back, Dale Earnhardt. Then in fifth, present time, they are showing Bobby Allison in the second 10 all the way back. Sterling Marlin has broken into the top 10 now.
Yes, he's running very well. I talked to him this morning. They put a new engine in his car this morning, Ken, but he felt very good. Said the car was working well in the last practice yesterday and felt good about his chances here today.
Well, there's no doubt these guys are really cracking on. The average speed of the race has dropped to about 168 with those caution periods, but between lap 60 and lap 70, they average 198.2 miles an hour. So these two guys out in front are really humming along.
Well, there you see them pouring it on by the crowd here in the Tri-Oval area. 25 cars are still in the lead lap of the 1987 Daytona 500. More shortly.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by Mr. Goodwrench. No one knows your GM car better than Mr. Goodwrench. No one. Skin Bracer Aftershave takes care of men who take care of their skin. Skin Bracer by Menon. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. When car-carrying people reach for the best, they reach for Quaker State Motor Oil.
That's good. Brady running by himself.
We're back with you once again, watching this battle for the lead. We are now showing 79 laps complete. And closing, Richard Petty in number 43. Bobby Allison drops on pit road, number 22. Meanwhile, as Allison comes in, looks like an unscheduled stop here, Ned.
They were due for pit stops in about 10 laps, Ken. That is an unscheduled pit stop. Maybe you had a problem coming in a little bit earlier. They're making a normal pit stop, changing right side tires and putting in fuel.
But the story of the race for this moment is not even with first and second place. The story is in third place behind these two drivers. Richard Petty is closing in, moving in on the two leaders lap by lap. It's been 71 races since Richard Petty last won. He's managed to break Dale Earnhardt's draft, and he is closing. And Earnhardt in number 3 is now on pit road. Dale Earnhardt is pulling on the pit road, had been running in fourth position. Checking the interval. That second place car back to third, Richard Petty, 7-time winner of this race. Earnhardt, who came so close, he and Bodine locked up in a tremendous struggle last year. And then 3 laps from the finish, the engine burped, he was out of fuel and had to settle further back in the field.
Earnhardt in extended stay in the pits, Ken, and jacked up a little longer than it should have been, almost 18 seconds for Dale Earnhardt, so he's got some making up to do, but everybody else is due for a pit stop here very shortly.
Indeed, more of the field now pulling in. Sanders' car comes down the pit road. Leaders come by and complete 80 laps. Second to third, about 2.5 seconds.
The other guy we see in the picture there, just behind Richard Petty now, is Ken Schrader, who has really pulled up well. He was dicing with Lake Speed for 11th spot just about 4 laps ago, and here he is now in a very strong 4th and making a bit of ground on Petty. There you see him there, number 90, going down the back straight.
And right behind him comes Benny Parsons. Schrader in the number 90 Junie Donlavey car. Donlavey has been here 38 years, since 1950, never has won this race. He said the most disappointing moment in his life was 1 year ago when they fired the car up and it didn't hardly get across the line before they were out of this Daytona 500.
But right now, he is the fastest car on the racetrack. He's picking up on Petty, and Petty have been picking up a little bit on the leaders.
Backed by this immense crowd here today. It's a complete cloud cover over the track now, and as Ned pointed out a few moments ago, that works very much in favor of these racing teams. Harry GANT is on pit road. Cale Yarborough brings his number 29 in. There are those two leaders, and make no mistake about it, Elliott's playing it cozy right now with car number 9. He just roosts there on the back end of that lead machine. Here's Harry GANT coming back out. They were saying, Hal Needham was saying this morning, they thought they had their problems somewhat sorted out. Here comes Cale out, up 1 number from a year ago. Carries the same colors, and here are both of the leaders. Number 9, Elliott. Number 88, Baker, on pit road.
And Bill Elliott came down pit road. He passed Baker coming into the pits. A very good move. However, Baker is pitting back behind Elliott, but let's see how they do. Let's go to Mike Joy in the pits.
Buddy Baker is making a scheduled pit stop. He did not stop during that caution flag period at lap 49, so now he's just about out of fuel. They gambled and thought the caution flag would wave again. It didn't. He's wasting precious time stopping under green. Here's Dave Despain.
While these are in fact scheduled pit stops, they are not necessarily routine pit stops. Dale Earnhardt made a major adjustment on the rear spoiler to improve the aerodynamics of the car. Allison was in for fuel. Ricky Rudd has made his fuel stop. Behind me, Neil Bonnet's crew is waiting. He's been calling on the radio and saying, my car is pushing, I got to come in and get some tires. They're saying stay out there for the longest possible time, then come in for fuel and tires. He'll be in momentarily.
Ken, there was about a 2 seconds difference in the pit stops of Buddy Baker and Bill Elliott. Elliott having the advantage. That plus about a second that Elliott gained coming into the pits. Buddy Baker's going to be 2.5, 3 seconds behind Elliott out on the racetrack.
It's going to be interesting to see if Buddy Baker can maintain that slight advantage. It'll also be interesting to see if Ken Schrader comes in on this lap, because he didn't come in when all the other leaders came in on that lap.
Junie Donlavey, the builder and the owner of that car number 90, he is just such a fascinating story. He says in the old days, they used to come down here in the 50s to race on the beach. If they didn't win, they never even stayed around to find out who won. They just had a good time, packed up and went home.
I'll tell you, he's one of the nicest people in all of auto racing. He'll give you the shirt off of his back and has given parts and other parts, tires and things to other teams less fortunate than he, and he has not been one of the most fortunate ones over the years.
Jeff Bodine from second place on pit road. Number 5, Bodine, pitting. Live flag-to-flag coverage here on CBS. 17 cameras today, 3 on board. 1 with Waltrip, 1 with Bodine, defending champion, and 1 with Darrell Waltrip.
Ken, the word is that Bill Elliott is some 4 seconds ahead of Buddy Baker. He lost 2 seconds in the pits during the pit stop. We estimated about a second coming in. Baker didn't get out of the pits as fast, lost another second there. 4 seconds that he lost on that round of pit stop.
1 second in the pits, 300 feet of the track. Here's the Budweiser race summary brought to you by the King of Beers. Showing 85 laps complete. Leaders, just 4 of them to date. Elliott, Baker, Bodine, Schrader. And they have swapped the lead 7 times. The speed is down to 171 miles per hour. They swapped that lead 4 times. We've had 2 caution periods in the race. 7 cars are out of the race. Wallace, Saylor, Foyt, Phillips, Rick Wilson, Mark Stahl, and Eddie Beerswale are behind the wall. More from Daytona after this. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Neil Bonnet on pit road for the tire change that he wanted on the right side of the car, and you see a special addition to this pit stop. They've cleaned the window on a little bumper cam. The man on the back with the catch can for the gasoline handling that. Now they're coming around, and there's a bit of confusion on the stop as they're trying to get the fuel in. Now it is in, and he is away. It looked for a moment like they were going to come back in for a change of the left side tires. Bonnet has the right side tires he needed and is back underway. Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, a look at the Daytona Beach Airport from the outside of the Goodyear Tower here. This is where the Fortune 500 executives who come to the race, some of them like to watch the race from, others from the suites across the track. The corporate jets have come in here, and many of the people who fly the jets in here visit the Goodyear Tower. The Daytona Beach Airport has its busiest day today, and this is the place for those who want to watch the race and be able to walk down onto the track and have a word with the contestants when they have some time. And of course, you don't have to be a Fortune 500 company executive to enjoy the hospitality of the Goodyear Tower.
I'll leave it to our host to find the easy, cushy job for the day, Ned.
Ron Bouchard he's making a pit stop. Let's go to Mike Joy to cover that stop.
Ron Bouchard comes up on the leaderboard in second spot. He completes his service and away. A big incentive for Bouchard today from his sponsor. There's a check sitting here behind the pit wall in the amount of $100,000, a bonus if he should win this race. And up at his car dealership in Fitchburg, Mass, there's a crowd of over 200 watching our event on CBS. And if Bouchard wins, he'll give away a new car.
That's quite an incentive there. He had taken over the lead just before his pit stop, Ken. Now the leaders have made their pit stops, and Bill Elliott has gone back into the lead. He had a very good pit stop. Benny Parsons also had a very good pit stop, so he's moved up into, I believe, in second place.
Well, there you see, I think Buddy Baker's second, but Benny is right behind him.
Well, if Buddy Baker has moved up into second, he is flying because he was 4 seconds behind after those pit stops, so he is really moving up through the field.
91 laps are complete, working 92. There you see the Kenny Bernstein car just behind the 9. They've had their problems all week. They slapped the wall in practice. The track was wet. That green car is the Bernstein car with Morgan Shepherd driving. Morgan, a really smooth racer. Had no control. The track was just a little wet, and Cale Yarborough also got in the wall. That was early on Friday morning. So after 90 laps, here's how they stacked up on the leaderboard, with Bill Elliott in first, Buddy Baker in second, Parsons in third, followed by Gant and Earnhardt in the top 5.
And Buddy Baker is, in fact, about 3.5 to 4 seconds behind this man, number 9, Bill Elliott. And also running really strongly in that group, just behind Buddy Baker, is Ken Schrader, who delayed his pit stop just a bit longer than the others. And, of course, he stopped on the greens.
And the interval is beginning to close between first and second. Baker was 4 4/10 seconds behind. Now it's 3.9. Baker is closing up on Bill Elliott. More from Daytona after this.
Motor Trend Car of the Year, Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. Ford consultant Jackie Stewart tells you why.
It's a rare combination of sophisticated engineering. A new intercooled turbo for extra power. Computer-controlled suspension for ride and handling. Anti-lock braking gives you surer stops. No other car in the world has all that standard. Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, Motor Trend Car of the Year.
Now with Ford's 6-year, 60,000-mile new car powertrain warranty.
87's hottest golfer, 2-time tournament winner Corey Pavin takes on a formidable field at the Los Angeles Open. It's the PGA on CBS Sports next weekend.
Coming up next on CBS Sports, NBA action at its best, when the Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics, led by 3-time most valuable player Larry Bird, take on the Western Conference leading Los Angeles Lakers and this year's MVP frontrunner Magic Johnson. That's NBA action you won't want to miss. It's next on CBS. Number 9, Elliott stays in front, trying to eat into his lead is number 88, Buddy Baker. It's Ford against Oldsmobile. Elliott out in front, trying to win it. He won it in 85. His mother is home watching today in Dawsonville. Here's a great race. There is Baker. Then right behind him, the yellow and blue car. Number 3 is Earnhardt.
And Earnhardt is on the move, Ken. He had an 18-second pit stop. It dropped way back, but he's pulled up to third now and is gaining on Baker.
Meanwhile, 4th position is Bodine. 5th is Benny Parsons, 6th is Gant, 7th is Schrader, 8th is Allison, 9th is Marlin, 10th is Phil Parsons, 11th is Richard Petty, and 12th is Darrell Waltrip with Ricky Rudd 13 all in the lead lap. 96 laps complete. I started to mention Mildred Elliott is watching at home with Bill's daughter, Star. She didn't come down this year. And Mama Reese, 90 years young, Bill's grandmother, didn't want to watch with the other ladies. She's staying at home where she wouldn't be interrupted and she could really focus on viewing this race today. And at the Dawsonville Pool Hall this afternoon, a crowd of some 300 have congregated to root Elliott on to another victory. That's where they keep the memorabilia of North Georgia racing. There's the interval between first and second place, and here's Earnhardt beginning to turn the pressure up and go underneath Baker as Elliott continues to lead.
That interval is in fact growing, and the guy also on the make now is in fact Ken Schrader, who's disposed of both Bobby Allison and Benny Parsons, and is lying in fourth spot, right behind fifth spot behind Jeff Bodine and Dale Earnhardt.
Watching the battle for second place, Earnhardt of the Richard Childress car down on the inside, going for second position.
Baker has definitely slowed over what he was running. He's still running at a good pace, but just after the pit stop, he was the fastest car on the track, but right now it's not working for him. As you see, he's about to lose third.
Back to the inside. Look at this, 3 wide, and Schrader's the man on the move. Ken Schrader has incredible power in that car number 90. Whoops, a little smoke rolling out of car number 3. Tire smoke?
Yes, I think it was tire smoke.
Further back, going into turn number 1. Remember, Terry Labonte had trouble earlier. There's the Cale Yarborough car, number 29, which is outside of the top runners, and Lake Speed in car number 83. There's Terry Labonte, the car that Waltrip drove a year ago. Remember, they had problems early on in this race. Here's a report from Mike Joy.
Watching Junior Johnson in his characteristic pose with a knee up almost on the pit wall. Ken, no one was prepared for the speeds they were going to run here today. When they asked Ricky Rudd and Junior in separate interviews what speed it would take to win the pole, they'd say, well, 208, 209, or 2010. They're not ready to comprehend 200 miles per hour. In fact, the Speedway media guide, the speed chart, doesn't even go up as fast as Bill Elliott ran for the pole. Junior sits here impassively, but a moment ago when they came by 3 wide, his crew chief, Jeff Hammond, standing up here on the tires, covered his eyes as Ken Schrader took him across the line. Here's Dave Despain.
The search for that speed is a 4-month-long process. The Daytona 500, the culmination of all that testing and all that qualifying and all that practice. A lot of guys tested fast, qualified slow. Darrell Waltrip is one of the guys in that category. Other guys test slow and come down here and qualify very fast. Why the difference? One element is the weather. Waddell Wilson, the crew chief on this car, says the weather didn't help you guys. All this cool, cloudy weather was not good for you.
No, we had our car set up for it to be sunny today, and being overcast, the car's too tight. It's not, running through the corners free enough.
Are you comfortable with where he is now? He's outside the top 10. Can you get the car right?
Well, at the present time, we're running a little quicker than Bill is, so if we can keep this up, we'll be up with a pack in front of us, and we're okay at the present time.
The key thing to remember is that this quest for speed, which starts in November, ends not at the start of the 500, not at the midway point, which is approaching right now. The one time you have to get the car right is at the end of the race.
We are at the halfway point. 100 of 200 laps complete. Elliott in first. Earnhardt showing in second. Ken Schrader is in third. That's Bill Elliott, the leader. There's Schrader, who's now in third. Then Jeff Bodine in fourth. And Buddy Baker is in fifth position. In the sixth position, Bobby Allison. Benny Parsons in seventh. Then Gant, followed by Sterling Marlin ninth. And Darrell Waltrip has just moved back into the 10th position. Elliott in number 9 leading, but his lead is being taken away by Dale Earnhardt in number 3, who is closing here in the Great American Race.
Their rivalry is intense. Their respect is mutual. Their meetings are classic. The Celtics confront the Lakers next on CBS Sports.
Back with you live here at the World Center of Speed, the Daytona International Speedway. There's Bill Elliott. Here's the story in second place. Just moving into that position, car number 90, Schrader, has come up with his Ford and passed Earnhardt, number 3, the blue and yellow car, which is now in the 3rd position. And there you see Jeff Bodine in 4th. And there is Benny Parsons, number 35. He is in the 5th position. Behind him in 6 is Baker, then Bobby Allison and Harry Gant, 7th and 8th. 9th is Marlin.
Remember that Parsons won one of the 125-mile qualifiers.
And now the Max Place car is in the pit. Sterling Marlin getting left side tires. He's headed back out, but it was a rather long pit stop, 20.9 seconds.
Well, whatever they did to Buddy Baker's car during that pit stop obviously didn't work, because he was running so strongly in the first 2 segments, and now he's dropping away, so he can obviously hardly wait for the next pit stop.
You saw number 44, Sterling Marlin, with the team that he's just beginning to represent. This is his first race in those colors. Bill Elliott out in front. Will you have to run this 500 differently than the way you ran it to victory 2 years ago?
Now, I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to go into it and look at it, depending on what the competition does, but I feel like there's going to be some good competition out there. Right now, there's a lot of cars running good, and the thing of it is, you've got to handle, you got to stay at the bottom of the racetrack. And I think that's one thing. You see a car do that all day long, and he's going to be the one of the cars to beat when you come down to the checkered flag.
The man to beat right now is Elliott, and the man who looks like he wants to come after him the hardest and has the best chance is an unknown. Ken Schrader from Fenton, Missouri, sprint car driver, moved into the Donlavey team a year ago. There he is in number 90. A poor team, never had much money. This year, somewhere between $600,000 and $800,000 was put up with the sponsor, and they've made it work. They won the 125-miler, defeating Elliott by less than a half foot. Junie Donlavey, great Junie Donlavey, great story about Donlavey in the old days. Donlavey was the man who used to say to Schrader, listen, I've got tires here that are guaranteed to go 205 miles an hour. And Schrader said, how do you know? He said, well, I just bought them from Cale Yarborough, and he's done 25 laps on them, and he tells me they'll go that fast. Here's Mike Joy.
There are none of those old tires in the Schrader pit today. Junie Donlavey, you beat Bill Elliott on Thursday. You beat him by inches. Now you're running toward the front. Is this perhaps the biggest and most pleasant surprise of your long career?
I couldn't hear you.
I was afraid of that. You got to be thrilled the way your boy's running out there.
Oh, he's really running beautiful. What's killing us is on pit stops. We've got a little bit too high a gear to take off fast, and it really puts him way back, and that's where they're killing us.
It looks like you can catch Bill, but can you beat him like you did Thursday?
Well, I don't know. Bill's mighty fast, and he's not running as fast as he can run, so it's just going to depend on what happens right at the end of the race.
And you can bet that Donlavey and crew chief Bob Johnson will keep brand new tires on that car to help him run down Elliott and try to beat him. Here's Dave Despain.
Mr. Childress owns the car that has just given up second spot to Junie Donlavey's Ford. You had a little handling problem early. Is it better now?
Yeah, we've made several adjustments on the car, and we still got a couple of more I think we can make to help it out some, and you know, it's still a long race yet.
You're gearing for the end of the race. The question is Bill Elliott. Everybody's been trying to figure out all week, can anybody do anything with that Ford? You're leading the General Motors class right now, but what's it going to take to wear that guy down and try to win this race?
Well, you know, they're real strong. If Dale can get up there to him on cold tires, we just have to see, but they're awful strong.
Just a couple of moments ago, the members of this crew looked at one another, marked the interval, noted that it is not shrinking any. Elliott is holding sway out front.
110 laps have been completed. There you see the number 3 of Earnhardt now in 3rd position. Schrader is in 2nd, and leading is Elliott. Back in 4th is Parsons, and 5th is Bodine. There's that Schrader, number 90. You can see the speed in the back straightaway there. How about 200 miles an hour as they float along through a Sunday afternoon of this Valentine's Day weekend at the World Center of Speed. Elliott continuing to turn incredible laps. But Schrader is as quick as anything out here. The dark horse is hunting once again for the 85 champion. Stock cars maneuver around high-speed tracks like this Daytona track faster than some airplanes fly. But as Ned Jarrett shows us, speed can be just a passing thing.
It's hard to capture the illusion of speed. So we took our convertible out for a cruise on the interstate, running along at 55 miles an hour. Of course, we all know that we're passed occasionally by someone going 65 to 70 miles an hour, some 10 to 15 miles an hour faster. The same thing happens on the racetrack. With our in-car cameras, they show you that one car running along at 190 miles an hour is passed by a car going 200 miles an hour, but that doesn't really give you the true feeling of speed. So let's take a little spin around the Daytona International Speedway, get our car up to 55 miles an hour, and let Terry Labonte's Oldsmobile come by at over 200 miles an hour.
Well, Ned, I never saw you get dusted off like that before. Elliott has slowed down. He's only running his last lap 197.5 miles an hour. Here he is up in front, continuing to show the way. Bill Elliott leading the Daytona 500. Ken Schrader is maintaining second position. In the third position is Dale Earnhardt. Fourth is Benny Parsons. Fifth is Jeff Bodine. Maintaining sixth, Bobby Allison. Harry Gant running a stout seventh. Buddy Baker is in eighth. Darrell Waltrip now up to ninth, and Phil Parsons is in 10th.
Parsons having a very good run here today.
We'll continue our live flag-to-flag coverage of the Daytona 500 after this message and a word from your local stations. At Daytona, the red light is on, and I believe that means the fuel pressure's gone away on number 17, Waltrip's car. We saw him shift a little early to come in. Here he is on the pit road. He may have run the tank down.
I think that's what happened.
Run it dry.
When the fuel pressure goes down, that light comes on. He says, well, I got to go into the pits. Dale Earnhardt made a pit stop while we were away on the break.
And Bobby Allison is pitted, and it was a lengthy stop of 35 and 4/10 seconds.
And boy, that'll
Bobby
get you
Allison.
behind. That'll get you way behind.
On the racetrack, Elliott's first, Schrader second, Benny Parsons third, Bodine is fourth. Fuel back in, the light goes out. I thought his car payment might be due.
Elliott on pit lane.
The leader, Bill Elliott, pulls in, and Schrader will take the lead. Dave Despain.
Well, as the leader comes down pit road, they feel they have things well in hand. Their only concern is that something might go wrong on a pit stop. The car is strong. It's working the way they want it to. Routine right side change, but into the right side goes the chassis adjustment man, and they have made a right rear chassis adjustment on Elliott's car. Other than that, a routine stop. All they're doing here is setting up for the run to the finish, and the leader looks to be in good shape.
Ken, it was interesting that Darrell Waltrip took on left side tires and Bill Elliott took on right side tires.
Just over 16.5 seconds for Bill Elliott's stop, so we need to see how long Ken Schrader's stop is.
Ken Schrader, likable race driver. His wife, a registered nurse. She said the hardest thing they've had in racing was convincing her mother that it was a good idea. Car number 90, the Junie Donlavey car, best finish it's ever had here at Daytona in the 500, was fifth with Richard Brooks in 1983. Here's Mike Joy.
Benny Parsons, like Dale Earnhardt a few laps ago, will take on left side. Benny, having a little trouble keeping his car running, waves off the drink of water and a little bit of a miscue on the pit stop. Here in Benny's pit, car owner Rick Hendrick, who also owns the Waltrip and Bodine's car. You looking for the trifecta today?
I couldn't hear you.
So you're looking for the trifecta today with a 3-car entry.
Well, we're going to try. That Ford looks awful tough right now, but our cars are running well, and if it stays green, we're looking pretty good.
If it's possible, will your guys link up in a draft purposely with the teammates to try to run them down?
Well, they work together real well, and it just depends on if the cars are working in the same spot on the track. So we'll see what happens, but they know what to do.
Now, Hendrick claims to be nonpartisan, but the jacket he's wearing is that worn by Jeff Bodine for Friday's IROC victory, and when he came out of the car yesterday after winning the 300.
119 laps, 297.5 miles down. You see Baker on pit road and Cale Yarborough here.
And Ken, the owner, Rick Hendrick, of course, is the man behind those 3 cars, but the registered owner with NASCAR of Benny Parsons' car number 35 is Papa Joe Hendrick.
Rick Hendrick's father.
Yes.
Rick Hendrick's father raced cars way back in the 50s. I can remember when he came to Trenton, New Jersey with a pickup truck, and I understand Rick was in the back of it, and they won that race that day with Mr. Modified out of Virginia. Here is Bobby Hillen's car number 8, who you saw on CBS win the Talladega 500 last July, and Richard Petty's number 43, which had been running in 5th, now comes on pit road. Ken Schrader stays in the lead in car number 90. Bodine is in 2nd, and maintaining 3rd is Ricky Rudd.
Well, Ken Schrader certainly seems to be getting good fuel economy out of his car.
That's Bodine getting underneath Ron Bouchard in that car number 1. Bouchard, who won at Talladega a few years ago. New team. Richard Petty away and back into action.
And Ken, Dale Earnhardt might not be running quite as fast as he was earlier. He's lost a little over a second to Bill Elliott on the stop. He's now about 8.5 seconds behind, and before those pit stops, he was only about 4 seconds.
Richard Petty coming back to speed. To watch them on the banking here of the Daytona Speedway. better than halfway in the event. Regulation pit stops upcoming. More in a moment.
Next Saturday, crowd thriller Bobby Ches will defend his IBF world title against the force of Willie Edwards next weekend on CBS Sports Saturday.
On pit road, Kenny Schrader is on pit road. This team, which did not get to make a pit stop last year because the car blew up on the first lap, have come in with the lead and made a crackerjack stop. The car has been serviced and is back up pit road. Now the question is, as the other cars come in to round out this sequence of stops, can they hold the lead?
Jeff Bodine stays in front. Ricky Rudd in second. Allison in third at this point. There's your leader, Bodine. 17 cars being reported in the lead lap. Here's Bodine ready to make his stop. The leader coming on pit road. Lap 123 as he brings it in.
Ken, we saw Jeff Bodine change gears as we saw Darrell Waltrip when he came down pit road. That's about the only time they change gears. A lot of fans wonder, do they change gears during a lap? No, they don't. On an oval speedway, they only shift gears when they're coming in, they shift down, and of course when they're going out, they shift up to high gear.
71, Dave Marcus out of it. The sister car from that team, Phil Barkdahl's car, crashed hard here on Thursday. Let's go to Mike Joy.
A big spoiler adjustment on the back of Bodine's car. Perhaps you can see the rear lip of that Chevrolet as they have a tool that specially bends it back. I grab it, but they've already thrown it over the wall. And it looks like a long rod with two pieces of metal. And they put that on the spoiler, and they just like a bending brake, crank it up a bit. A little hard to do with quarter-inch thick aluminum, but if they stand it up more, it catches more air. Helps bolt the back end of Bodine's car to the ground. Obviously, it's handling a bit loose for him. The back end wants to come around and pass the front.
Thank you, Mike. We're back with Bodine in the Stars and Stripes car after his pit stop. He falls out of the top 10 here to make these pit stops. There's Hillen scooting in front of him as he comes back to speed. Here's 77 Ken Reagan pitting right now. Consider this. The 1980 race record, 177 miles per hour by Baker, was set with 5 caution flags for 15 laps of yellow. And as we see it now, we have had a total of 8 caution laps, 2 caution periods. So we could be on our way. Average speed is at 178 miles per hour, the record 180. Here's the Budweiser race summary brought to you by the King of Beers. 125 laps complete. We have leaders switching around 7 times, 7 different men leading, and they've swapped it back and forth 13 occasions. The average speed, 178, about 2 miles an hour off the record for this place in the race, which is held by Bill Elliott in 1985 at 187.83. Now there's the 75 car of Neil Bonnet.
He is the leader at this point, and he has not made his pit stop as yet, but I believe he's about to. He was giving a signal there to someone as he came around the turn.
Let's see if he elects to pull it in this time. He's dropped it down, and it sounds like he's out of the throttle just a little. Here he is down that 1,600-foot straightaway, leading to the pit entrance. The pit road here is about 2,000 feet long, and everybody has a different idea about where is the right place to pit.
And I'll tell you, their concentration level has to be at least as high when they're coming into the pits as it is when they're out there running 200 miles an hour, because a miscue here can cost you a whole lot on the racetrack. They're changing left side tires on Bonnie's car as he sits there and gets himself a drink of water.
And if you miss here, they send you back around again. I mean, you've got to hit your pit. You can't back up. That's what the rule says.
And that is very costly when you have to do that. Bonnie didn't do it, though. He did well.
Now he's leaving the pits, and from that low-angle camera, you can see right down there on the track the tremendous speed that he puts together as he comes out again.
Didn't get the lens quite as clean that time as it did before. It didn't have time during the green flag.
It's right down here showing the trench work of this event. See pieces of rubber on the lens of that camera. Here's number 9, Elliott. And I believe he's now being shown as the leader with 75 Neil Bonnet pitting.
He would indeed be the leader, and I believe that Kenny Schrader has taken back over second place again after the round of green flag pit stops.
Which means that Fords are running first and second in the event. And Schrader has the hot hand thus far, even though he's in second place.
And when we had that interview with old Junie Donlavey, he mentioned in the pit stop that they weren't getting out of the pits quite as quick as the other boys because they had a slightly higher gear. Well, that dexterity move of old Junie Donlavey is finding hard to leave behind. They're obviously gearing the car up a bit to try and give the engine some long life, and it paid bad dividends then because he got away well before Bill Elliott arrived on the scene, still in the lead after his pit stop, and Elliott hauled him in through 1 and 2 and passed him on the back straight easy because it took Ken Schrader a long time to get up to speed.
You saw Trevor Boyce pitting for a moment. Jeff Bodine has now moved into the 4th position. Parsons is in 3rd. Trevor Boyce's car running well down the field. Taking a look at what's gone wrong with the DK Ulrich ride today. He's been out for a considerable time, DK Ulrich's team, after they were found to have the big engine last year. NASCAR really tightening the screws on making sure these cars conform to the regulations. And it's costly if you get caught with a big engine.
That was in North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. It helped him to qualify higher in the field than he normally would have. NASCAR caught it and set him down for the rest of the year.
Terry Labonte's number 11. They've had trouble early on, and they just haven't been able to make it up as they smoke them coming back on the racetrack. The Daytona 500 now coming to its 130th of 200 laps. More shortly. We're back with you live at Daytona. You're watching the Darrell Waltrip car, number 17, now in 7th position. Right behind him comes that 75 car. That's the bonnet car. Then comes Sterling Marlin in 44. That has been a good scramble over the past 3 or 4 laps further back in the field. You see Petty taking that high line, staying right up on top, right in front of him, one of the Jackson brother cars.
Yes, it's Tom Sneevil. We haven't seen much of him today, but he's right in the thick of that bunch of cars.
The 83 Indy winner. Meanwhile, up in front, Schrader closes to within 5 car lengths of Bill Elliott. That's been a struggle all day. Elliott trying to stay in front. Here's the speed breakdown today. At 100 miles, the speed was 193.333. Then it dipped down to 171. And at 300, it's at 178. Now remember, the record is a 177 by Baker in 1980.
So we are above the record right now, and if they continue to run the pace they are now and it stays green, they'll set a new record here today.
Let's go to Chris Economaki.
Well, today's 500 started under sunny skies, and then it clouded over. And now the sun is trying to come through again. And earlier we heard Waddell Wilson, Cal Waltrip, the crew chief, said their car was set up to run in shiny weather. Now, it's not set up for cloudy weather. The difference would be the angle of this rear spoiler, up or down, and determining the downforce of the car. One of the other facets of a sunny, shady setup would be the rear axle ratio. And this cutaway rear end, these are the rear end ring gear teeth related to the pinion gear teeth. A different rear axle ratio is required for one setting than it is another. Some of the intricacies of stock car racing played out on the track today. Back to you, Ken.
Dick Hutchison building all that equipment, one of the great drivers of a few years back. Now look at number 90, closing. Schrader is there, closing up on Bill Elliott. This coming in the 136th lap. Making a move on Reagan in his Ford is number 9, Elliott. And Ken Schrader wants to write his name on this one for Junie Donlavey and that Virginia crew. He certainly, thus far, has looked as strong as anything in the race.
He certainly has. That car has handled well since they rolled it off the truck here some 10 days ago. Of course, he qualified well, had the 3rd fastest overall. He won the 125-mile qualifying race. So he has definitely been in the thick of everything that's going on here today.
Now, for more on that battle, let's go to Dave Despain.
It's been party time in the Junie Donlavey pits and garage all week. You guys are having a wonderful week, and now you got the biggest plum in sight right there in reach. Can you get around Bill Elliott and win this race, Junie?
Well, if we could get a good caution near the end, I think we could go with him. But right at the moment, when we are on a green stop, he beats us in and out of the pits. It's on account of we got the wrong gear ratio if we get going.
But you're running him down on the racetrack. You look like you're about ready to pass him.
Well, Bill's just playing along that pretty good. But we kind of hope that things will fall that way. He's running real good, and we're plenty happy.
To find out the other half of the strategy in this checker game for the lead, let's go to Mike Joy.
We're in the lead cars pit with Ernie Elliott as Ken Schrader closes in. Ernie, how concerned are you about Ken Schrader closing up there?
Well, right now our car's a little bit loose. So, you know, we got to make another chassis adjustment on the car. We've been fiddling with it all day. And, you know, it's
been going kind of from tight to loose. And, you know, the overcast conditions kind of changed everything. So, you know, we were basically set up to run on a loose racetrack, and you know, now we ended up being a little bit tight, so we made an adjustment. And we over-adjusted and got the car too loose. So right now, you know, there's still a long way to go. We've still got 150 miles of racing left.
That's characteristic of Ernie Elliott. They never get flustered, never get fluttered until the last 10 or 12 laps or so. Let's go back up pit road to Dave Despain.
Your guy just drove right by him out there, Junie. He's looking very strong.
Well, he says it feels pretty good, and I think Bill's getting a little bit loose right at the moment. We're having to decide now whether to go with left side or right side tires on the next stop.
On Thursday out here, you guys came down to a photo finish. Kenny beat him. If it comes down to that again in the 500, will Kenny beat him again?
We certainly hope so. We certainly hope so.
They are cheering him on as Schrader is on the charge here at Daytona.
Schrader was giving a message to Junie Donlavey there. Here's number 19, coughing and coming back onto the
caution is out. There's a caution out.
Ah, that's a break.
Yes, it is.
Schrader.
Now, I'm not
got
sure.
the wrong gear.
Junie Donlavey, I wouldn't be too happy about a caution because on a restart he could get swapped.
Yes, he could. He needs to run green flag as much as he possibly can, but don't count Benny Parsons out because he had drafted right up with Kenny Schrader and had already moved around to Bill Elliott as well.
He was absolutely right there. The last thing they want in the Donlavey team now is a caution flag right near the end. He needs at least 10 laps to get back to speed.
The Goodyear Blimp Enterprise out of Pompano Beach, Florida. Pilot Captain Drew Marshall giving us incredible pictures of this great 400-plus acre facility today. 62nd consecutive year, a Goodyear Blimp has presided over one of the nation's top sporting events. There you see it, the Daytona Speedway, where the great American race is being worked out right now through 139 laps. Here's Dave Despain.
Last Thursday, Kenny Schrader won the race by getting out of the pits under a yellow flag more quickly than Bill Elliott. He got ahead of Elliott on the racetrack. Elliott couldn't get back past him. On this yellow flag, they're going to a quick change of both sides of tires. Let's go to Mike Joy.
Bill Elliott is getting 4 tires on this caution flag. They have not adjusted the rear spoiler, but Jackman Butch Stevens reached in and cranked down on the right rear chassis adjusting bolt, hoping to cure that loose problem. Here goes Elliott, and he beats Schrader out of pit road. Back to Dave Despain.
There is a problem here in Junie Donlavey's pit. They did not get the lug nuts tight on the right rear. It was a momentary bobble. It cost them the opportunity to beat Elliott out of the pits. The strategy that worked for them on Thursday did not happen here, but we've still got a good ways to go to the finish.
And the man who came out first was Benny Parsons. While those two Fords were in such hot contention, Parsons slipped in, slipped out before those two automobiles.
And he took on 4 tires also, Ken.
So they have fresh rubber all the way around. Most of these teams expecting to go through 70 tires here today. We're under caution. We'll be back with the exciting finish of the Daytona 500 shortly.
This Wednesday, it's a special 2-hour Magnum. And next Wednesday...
What do you want? I want the truth.
Frank Sinatra guest stars.
The third caution of the day. Cars on pit road at this time with Waltrip leading, Bonnet second. Lake Speed in third, Phil Parsons, followed by his brother Benny Parsons in the top 5. In the second 5, Dale Earnhardt is there with Bill Elliott, Bodine, Baker, and Ken Schrader. Car number 19, Derek Cope of Spanaway, Washington. His Ford lost an engine, resulting in this third caution period. I'll show you how tough it gets on pit road. Here is Alan Kowicki pitting, and watch inside the circle. Gets a little close down there, Ned.
Yes, it really does. As he jumps back from his car after trying to get into service. Of course, Kowicki trying to get into the pits. He backed right into it. Didn't phase him a bit. Went right on to his jump.
Dave Despain has a report on that last Schrader pit stop.
The tools of the stock car racing trade include air wrenches. This is what they changed the tires with. This air wrench broke at a critical moment in Kenny Schrader's pit stop. The left rear tire lug nuts had been removed. The new tire was on. When they went to put the lug nuts back on, the gun broke. They had to grab another air wrench, and it cost them 9 seconds in the pits. It could cost them the Daytona 500. Let's go to Mike Joy.
2 years ago, Bill Elliott lost the Winston Cup Championship on the last day because the transmission broke. This is not a junkyard. It's the spare parts pile. Blower control arms, disc brake hats, a front hub, a rear end, a transmission, axle shaft, shock absorbers, drive shafts, oil cooler, oil lines, a whole front end setup. Hopefully, if need be, they can literally rebuild the car right here on or behind pit road without having to chasing all the way back to the garage. They hope none of this stuff is needed today.
The one thing they cannot change is the engine. And a few years back they could. They took great advantage of that to where Junior Johnson was getting them changed in 15 minutes. Said he could do it in 10.
By the look of that clapped out old air wrench, it's about time Junie Donlavey changed his air wrench for some of that pizza money.
There will be 57 laps to go this time by.
And we're about to get a restart, Ken, and since our leaderboard a moment ago, Waltrip, Bonnet, and some of those that were up front have made pit stops, and now Benny Parsons finds himself up front.
With number 3, Earnhardt in second, number 9, Elliott in third, and I believe you'll find Jeff Bodine in fourth indeed. Buddy Baker is in the 5th position, Schrader in 6th, Richard Petty in 7th. Looks like Ron Bouchard in 8th as we get set for resumption.
And Ricky Rudd's up there too now, I think.
Of the Daytona 500. Harold Kinder stretches the green. We're back underway.
On these restarts, I wonder if the people at home realize that the top line, the line nearest the wall, those are all the guys on the one lap. The guys on the bottom track, they're the people in the lap. So the top line is where you're seeing
cars in the lead lap.
Exactly.
Cars at the bottom, at least one lap down. You can see it's overcast and gray as they head into the back straightaway. Here's Elliott from the blimp. Back in that 3rd spot, looking down to the inside. Battle for the lead developing. Earnhardt's going for it. Dale Earnhardt in number 3, the Richard Childress car. Scoots out in front. Elliott to 2nd. Bodine to 3rd. Parsons falling to 4th. Then the Morgan Shepherd car a lap down. The green car running with the leaders, but had a problem a bit earlier.
Benny really went high into that 3rd turn. Of course, he had no choice with those other cars down under him.
As we look down, what is now a cloud cover on this race, and Elliott closes. Ned, let's talk for a moment about what cloud cover does to these 3,500-pound race cars.
We've had several references to that today from some of the crew chiefs and Chris Economaki. It will cool the racetrack when you have a cloud cover. It does not get as slick. With the sun bearing down on the hot asphalt, then the oil and the grease and the water, let's watch that lead change. It's Bill Elliott taking over the lead from Dale Earnhardt. But as that water and oil and grease gets on the track, the sun bearing down, it gets very slick. They have to set the car up much tighter. And then, of course, with the cloud cover, it makes the racetrack a lot tighter and cooler.
Every one of the 80,000 seats in the grandstand, person in them watching this tremendous, thundering horde of automobiles, crowding each other to the limit. I believe we still have 16 cars in the lead lap. Little tire smoke rolling off car number 3 at this point. And from Neil Bonnett's vantage point in car number 75, back in 12th position. Right there's Alan Kowicki and the 83 Indy champion. They're knocking on the door of Tom Sneva. Live, it's the Daytona 500 on CBS. Hello, Tom.
Goodbye, Tom. And in front of Neil Bonnet is Alan Kowicki, of course, last year's Rookie of the Year. Comes from Wisconsin, and is a very cool and level-headed young man. Probably going to go a long way in this sport.
Kowicki just a year ago came down here, did not even make this race. Went to Richmond, Virginia, where they're going to race next, and didn't make that one either, and yet came on to win Rookie of the Year. Darrell Waltrip's camera. Whoa, tight traffic. Bobby Hillen on the outside. Ken Schrader deployed directly in front.
And just a lap ago, they got together. Ken Schrader hit Bobby Hillen Jr. in the back as they came through the tri-oval, and Hillen did a beautiful job of saving the car.
Ken Schrader is now in 8th. Waltrip is in 9th. Back straightaway, 3,000 feet long. Now from the face cam, you see Waltrip nearly 200 miles an hour, looking kind of relaxed, just taking it as easy as you can. You certainly don't want to get tense up there in the cockpit from Jeff Bodine's vantage point. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Here's Bodine. Recall he's in 3rd. Earnhardt directly in front of him in 2nd. Bodine closing up on him as they come into the tri-oval. 15-degree banking here. The cars just lift. Watch the back end of number 3. Just out a little.
And At that speed and the air that's around each car as they run in traffic, it does literally pick the wheel off the ground sometimes.
Last lap at 198.6 miles per hour. And you're right in there riding with Jeff Bodine, defending Daytona champion. And the man with whom he contended for the last 50 miles a year ago, right down, remember that's totally flat on the bottom of that track, 31 degrees up on the banking. He's within inches of it. That's Dale Earnhardt. They went at it all the way to the finish and 3 laps shy. Earnhardt ran out of fuel. Elliott stays in front. Then it's Dale Earnhardt in that second position with Bodine, with whom you're riding in third spot. Benny Parsons is in fourth. Buddy Baker is in fifth. In the second 5, right now, Richard Petty is there in 6th, followed by Bobby Allison, Ken Schrader 8th, Waltrip 9th, Sterling Marlin doing a tremendous job, is there in 10th position. 11th is Ricky Rudd, 12th is Neil Bonnet, 13th is Cale Yarborough, and Phil Parsons. Bodine making the move on the inside for second position. Almost touching here.
That's what you call door-handle racing.
Just a couple of men happy at their work.
Although they don't have door handles on these cars.
That's 200 miles an hour. That's about as good. Look at those tires travel. Those cars hit those bumps. They look so smooth, and yet they are so tough. And the spring suspension swung so hard on these cars. Earnhardt going now, trying to find Bill Elliott here in the Daytona 500. Live at the Daytona Speedway, where Bill Elliott is in front. Earnhardt is in second with an 8-car length. But moments ago, the man in third place, right here at turn 4, Jeff Bodine, watch what happened to him. This is a replay of 1 lap ago. Bingo on the wall. Almost collect. Look at that move by Baker. On the outside, Parsons comes up as they run 3 wide and never lift coming to the tri-oval.
It's a good job they haven't got door handles on these cars.
I'll tell you, Jeff Bodine has to be riding on pins and needles right now, Ken. He don't know how much the sheet metal is pushed in. Is it rubbing the tires as he goes into the turn?
Bodine is now back in fourth after that incident. Here are the leaders. Elliott in front with that Ford. Can he do it again? He won it in 85. There's $1.5 million at stake in 46 laps from now. From inside of Jeff Bodine's car, let's take a look and replay at that moment at better than 197 miles an hour out of turn number 4.
He drifts high, and it just clips the wall with him, and look at him as he moves the steering wheel. But he didn't overreact. That's what kept him from spinning around.
It is that poise that makes it work. There's caution on the track. Yellow is coming out. There may have been some pieces that dropped off that car. We're waiting for a report as to what has brought out this caution condition. And this is the one they need. They were going to have to pit one more time. Boy, from here, they would have 35 laps to the finish. I don't know if they can make it.
45. Yeah, they can't make
45.
it here. Yeah.
There's some debris on the track. There's debris being reported on the track.
Somebody threw a can on the track, apparently.
But I'll tell you, one person who is happy to see this is Jeff Bodine. He wanted to see this caution because, as we mentioned a moment ago, he don't know how much damage was done to the right side of that car, and he had to be riding on pins and needles, but now he'll get to come in and check it out.
The caution flag is out.
So look at the side of his car. Doesn't look too bad.
Here he is on pit road, Bodine.
The old star is definitely deranged slightly.
Mike Joy.
Bill Elliott getting what looks to be routine service. Right side tires only this time. Last caution, they took all 4. Jeff Bodine, they're taking a look at that corner of the car and putting right side tires on it, hauling the left ones over the wall. Let's go to Dave Despain.
Dale Earnhardt has received right side tires. Now the crew comes to the left side of the car for a 4-tire stop. A 4-tire change on the Earnhardt car to set him up for the run to the finish. There was no adjustment. Let's go back to Mike Joy.
This too will be a 4-tire change for Jeff Bodine. No apparent real damage after scraping the wall, and it was his car that caused the caution flag. Crew Chief Gary Nelson's up on the wall as his driver rolls down the pit lane. Gary, what was the problem? He really appeared to crack the wall there from our camera view.
Right, he scraped the wall. There wasn't serious. The fenders were just rubbing slightly on the tires. We pulled them both out, got 4 new tires, and Jeff said the car really feels pretty good. It's just a matter of getting in the right kind of wind. The other cars seem to upset ours a lot. The turbulent air that gets around anytime we're around somebody.
Will banging out those fenders hurt the aerodynamics?
No, no problem at all. It was just a scrub.
Just a scare for Jeff Bodine and crew.
Let's look at replay from another angle. This is on pit road as Bodine is coming back out. Here's Petty coming out.
Well, Petty and Bodine came out quite late there. One guy who didn't come out late was, in fact, Schrader. After that long stop they had, old Kenny Schrader was really ready to go, and the mechanic, with his leg stuck out the window doing something to the rear, was running at about 85 miles an hour as they left the pits here. He was doing a pretty good job.
I'll tell you who is continuing to get some of the better service in the pits today is Benny Parsons. He's able to get right back out, right up there with them or in front of many of them. Ken, we would think back a year ago when we looked at that Bodine situation a moment ago and talked about the possibility that that fender could be in against the tire. We saw that a year ago with Richard Petty. He scraped the wall. A few laps later, he was into the wall very hard, and he had the in-car camera, and we saw how hard he hit that wall and injured his shoulder, of course.
Yeah, and there wasn't a caution after he got in that wall. I mean, whatever came down.
No, he kept running, and of course the tire went down and into the wall he went.
Let's see if we can get a word with Neil Bonnet.
Yeah.
Neil, Ken Squire, do you read us?
I got you, Ken.
How's it going? How is it going, Neil?
Ken, we're in pretty decent shape. We got behind a little bit on this pit stop. The car is running good. It takes it a couple of laps to get up to speed, but after the tires get hot, I'm in pretty good shape.
The cloud cover today changed some of the strategy on the settings on the car.
That's right, Ken. We wanted to be a little conservative to start the race, and now we're going to have to start and see if we can't go after him.
Good luck to you from here on in, Neil. Give it a ride.
Thank you.
And talking of cloud cover, the sun's just come out. The temperature's going to go up about 20 degrees in the next 10 minutes.
There's number 75, Neil Bonnet. NBA coming up next. It's the Celtics against the Lakers. Like the Yankees and the Dodgers in the old days. Don't miss it. It's right here live on CBS this afternoon. The world champs, the Lakers, go at it. Ready for a green flag start. We'll watch the start as they come down to complete lap 157 from Jeff Bodine's car.
And Kenny Schrader up front with that good pit stop that David Hobbs talked about.
Schrader in first, Earnhardt second, Parsons third, Elliott fourth, Baker fifth. Bodine, from whom you're getting these pictures in sixth, goes by the Winkle Pontiac, J.D. McDuffie, as they take the green.
And there you can see that long gear on Kenny Schrader's car. The whole inside row just shot by him as they went down into turn one.
Out in front is Earnhardt. There's Parsons. Parsons was my pick to win this race. That's such a strong car. It has great legs. Has Harry Hyde as a crew chief. Parsons is one of those consistent drivers like old gentleman Ned Jarrett used to be. Doesn't bang him up, just brings him home.
You got to hang in there. You got to be there at the finish before you can win.
From the Goodyear blimp.
Somebody going high there. Is that Benny Parsons coming around the top?
I think that might be the 9 car, Elliott car.
Yeah.
Started to say the 1 car, Bouchard. They look a little bit alike in that age.
But Bouchard is out of the race now, Ken. He dropped out some 30 laps ago. And now we got reports that Harry GANT has dropped out of the race. Harry had run in the lead lap, but apparently having some sort of problem.
Fast. Look at Baker, I believe, coming down on the inside for third. Here's Elliott into fourth. Davey Allison trying to get a lap back. He's 13 laps off if you're joining us. Davey had trouble early. Lost the right rear wheel when he came out of the pits. Parsons closing. Parsons moving in to try and challenge. And we have Chevrolets now 1 and 2. Oldsmobile in third and a Ford in fourth. Benny Parsons in that second position. Tight draft. The success Tim Richmond had last year in the Harry Hyde car. Does driving that car put any pressure on you?
I think it does. Sure it does, because the car is a proven winner. I don't know that Benny Parsons is so much a proven winner. In 1984, I won a race. In 1986, I won an invitational 150-mile race, but 500-mile victories have been awfully hard to come by.
Last win was in Atlanta. Here's that squabble for the lead, and Parsons is going for it. Earnhardt wants to take it back. Nipping along on the bottom of the racetrack, and now the Earnhardt car looks like it's working just where they want it to, down to the bottom side. Meanwhile, that car of Parsons is up where he was so successful in the 125-mile. That's where he won his qualifying race.
And it might be to his advantage if the sun stays out, Ken. That car works very well on a slick racetrack. Benny Parsons drives well on a slick racetrack. As you said on Thursday, the high spot on the racetrack was the place to be. And if it stays hot, he might just be able to pull it off. But right now, he's having a little trouble there.
Neil Bonnet scooting beneath Alan Kulwicki. Here's Jeff Bodine closing up on Elliott. Back straightaway, and there on the outside is the Parsons number 35. Elliott on the charge. This is up in front for the lead again.
Another guy that's having terrible trouble is Ken Schrader, who dropped from the lead to 8th in just about the last 4 laps. He seems to have got off to a very dodgy start after that pit stop.
Now the white car that's just in second place is 13 laps down. That is Davey Allison. Here's Mike Joy.
Schrader has dropped from the front of the pack back to about 9th spot. Crew Chief Bob Johnson having a word with him on the radio. What's happened to Kenny? He's dropped so far back.
You know, he just said there was oil on the racetrack somewhere. Whether he got in and they cleaned it up or what, I don't really know, Mike.
Is he okay now?
He seems to be. We'll see what happens in a little bit.
We'll see if he can march back to the front. Down to Dave Despain.
This is Dale Earnhardt's lap chart for this race. Add 100 to these numbers right here. You'll see the lap that we're on. At lap 156, the caution flag came out. We're now back under green, and we're working lap 162. The window of opportunity in terms of fuel for Dale Earnhardt comes over here at 165. After the 165th lap, if he can get a full tank of gas, he's got enough to go the rest of the way. Anywhere in here, a number of the other competitors, including Bill Elliott, could probably make it home. About 3 laps from now, they will be into that final pit stop sequence. Anytime after that, they'll have enough fuel to go to the distance.
Here's Waltrip and Petty further back in the field. Darrell, Waltrip, and Petty, 6th and 7th position at stake here. From Darrell Waltrip's car, Richard Petty has moved around Waltrip to take 6th in the last lap. There you see Jeff Bodine just in front of him. They could look back and forth at each other.
Yes, they can. In fact, that's a very tight pack of cars. You can see the leaders out in front of them, not that far out in front of them. And Petty making a move around Jeff Bodine, so he's got it on the move again.
A guy who must be incredibly disappointed now is Davey Allison, who's pulling out an incredible lead. But unfortunately, of course, after that awful pit stop early on, he's 13 laps down. But boy, what a show he's putting on now. Only he wishes he's on the same lap as the leaders. There we see him now. And you look at the gap between him and his pursuers, but unfortunately,
12 or 13 laps back. A look at standings with 162 laps complete. Earnhardt first, Buddy Baker with an outstanding performance in second, Bill Elliott third, Parsons fourth, Jeff Bodine falling back here. Richard Petty has picked up a spot, and Bodine is back to 6th. Then Waltrip 7th, Schrader 8th, Sterling Marlin 9th, and Phil Parsons holds on to 10th position.
Well, there are about 8 or 10 cars there that could move up and take the lead at any time. However, Earnhardt is doing a good job of using the racetrack to his advantage. Buddy Baker has tried him on the outside. He's tried him on the inside. Right now, content to run right behind him.
Dave Despain, a report from you, please.
Richard Childress owns Dale Earnhardt's car. Davey Allison may look impressive on the racetrack, but you're not happy to see him out there racing with your car at this point. What's going on?
Well, you know, with this many laps to go, it'd be better. You know, if he's only 1 lap down, you can understand. 14 laps down, or however many, they say he's several laps down. Let the leaders race for it.
Have you lodged any kind of a complaint about that?
No, not really. It's, you know, not really.
We'll see if Davey Allison won't move out of the way and let this dash to the finish of the Daytona 500 happen unimpaired.
He doesn't need to move out. He's pulled away by almost a second and a half now.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 laps ago, he had pulled up and passed both Dale Earnhardt and Buddy Baker and just motored away, so he's certainly not on the way right now.
Baker for the lead. Buddy Baker, who first came to Daytona back in 1961, scores on the inside. It's Baker taking the point once again. Earnhardt to second, and there's Parsons in third. Great scramble. Oh, they touch the back straightaway. That's Parsons down on the inside, going up underneath Earnhardt for turn 3 at 200 miles an hour, just tapping on each other's fenders.
Some would say that Benny Parsons gave Dale Earnhardt a little bit of his own medicine, because everybody in the country who's a race fan knows that Dale Earnhardt will get in there and mix up with you.
And Earnhardt comes right back up on the back of Benny Parsons. Now Elliott scoots in there.
In fact, Earnhardt gave him the nudge as they came off turn 4 then, I'm sure.
That's exactly what he did. As soon as he straightened up out the corner, he just gave him a love tap at 200 miles an hour. On the outside, perched high on the track, number 43, Petty. Luck has not been in his corner in the last several Daytona 500. Of course, he won here in 79. He won here on CBS in 81. But it has not gone well for him. Right now, he's driving a magnificent race, and the car staying under him, looking very strong. A year ago, had that bad crash in turn 2, and you witnessed it from inside of his car.
Well, Ken, we're in the last 100 miles now. It's show and tell time, and they're trying to show, and some are trying to tell others, but hey, there's nobody that's giving an inch out there right now, and it seems like during that last pit stop, they were able to get dialed in pretty well, everybody.
Budweiser now presents another race summary, brought to you by the King of Beers. 167 laps complete. There have been 11 leaders, 23 lead changes in the race, and they're averaging 172 miles an hour, about 5 miles per hour down. That's the Budweiser race summary after 160 laps at the 29th running of the Daytona 500. Out of turn number 4. The leader is Baker, but he's beginning to feel pressure from you-know-who. Bill Elliott of Dawsonville, Georgia, is on the chart, closing in. That Oldsmobile's margin of 10 or 15 car positions is now halved as Elliott's going for it. We'll have more from Daytona in a moment.
The Daytona 500 is sponsored by Unocal 76, who invite you to go with the spirit of 76. Vic Sinex. With Sinex, you feel better in 1 second. Plus, it keeps you breathing for hours. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company.
At Daytona Beach, Florida, with 170 laps complete and 30 to go. Here were the standings. Buddy Baker was in first, Bill Elliott second, Earnhardt third, Parsons fourth, Richard Petty in fifth. The second group had Bodine in sixth, Waltrip seventh, Allison in eighth. Back to racing here as they come out of turn 4, sideways. Number 3, the yellow and blue car, Earnhardt, and up on the outside, here's Baker. As they continue that scramble, we have 7 cars running for the lead. Bill Elliott in car number 9 is in front, and this battle for second has Earnhardt and Parsons in there, jockeying for position.
I mentioned that it's show and tell time. I believe Bill Elliott's about to show up.
And of course, the one person of this scenario is not going to work out well for is Ken Schrader, because they're obviously going to have to make a fuel stop with just a few laps to go, and he's going to be absolutely dead with that long ratio. But just look at the way old Bill's pulling away.
Replay 1985. That's what Elliott is doing. Waited his time out, and now he's on the go. There you see second place, the yellow and blue car, the Chevrolet of Earnhardt. Then the Oldsmobile, number 88.
The other
Baker's right there in third.
The other Ford that's putting on an incredible display is Davey Allison, who's lapping at around about 199 compared to this man's average of about 196.
Elliott doing what he needs to do to win this race and nothing more. Here's Waltrip and Petty once again as we see car number 43 now in 6th and 17 in 7th. Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip, who came in here saying he had to win this race. Brand new team with Waddell Wilson combining his talents with those of Waltrip. Never won here. Trying to get out from under the language that crash back in 83 coming out of turn 4 had bothered him here. As the battle continues up in front, let's go to Chris Economaki.
What you're looking at is the scoring clock. It changes its number every second. The wives and girlfriends of the contestants come to the scoring stand and score the race. This is how the race is kept track of. They each have a card with 200 squares on it. And each time their car comes across the line, they write the number the clock shows. That does 2 things. It credits the car with a lap and times it to the nearest second. And every 10 laps, they hold that card up in the air. It has the number on the back. And the man to score jots it down. And that's how the Daytona 500 is kept track of. Okay, from the scoring stand down pit road to Mike Joy.
Harry Hyde, crew chief for Benny Parsons, but checking his lap chart. They'll have to stop, as will everyone, before this race will end. Harry, how's Benny doing up in that high groove, that young kid's groove he used to win on Thursday?
Well, our car developed a little push, and I don't know, maybe it's because the sun come out. We're trying the high side. Right now, we seem to be getting along real good on tires that are half worn out, and on new tires we're not doing quite as good as some of the rest of them.
So with 10 or so laps to go, will you pull them in and just gas and go?
Oh, I think so. Nobody will dare take on tires this late. They'll just put in gas and go another 10 laps.
Well, these guys won't gamble, and if they come in first and don't, it's kind of monkey see, monkey do as everybody tries to get down that pit lane first. Here's Dave Despain.
This race seems to have evolved into a Bill Elliott lead with a drafting pack behind him trying to catch up. The draft has changed significantly at Daytona. Here's how it worked a few years ago. Onrushing air comes over the car and is pushed up, leaving a vacuum, a pocket back here. Years ago, a car as much as 200 yards behind could begin to feel the benefit, move into this area of still air, and then rush up and, in fact, swing around the lead car and make the pass. This race has been won that way several times. Now, 1987, the cars are slicker. They're more aerodynamic. This air closes much more quickly around the car, and thus this pocket has been reduced down to about 75 yards. The result of all this is a whole lot less benefit of the draft and a whole lot more driver skill involved. If you're going to make the move that wins this race, the draft pass is no longer automatic. You've got to be able to get in there and drive around the guy to make the pass that wins the race.
Earnhardt closing. Earnhardt definitely moving in on Elliott another time. There's the difference.
Earnhardt's closing, and so is our younger hero, Kenny Schrader's pulling up to the back of this pack. He's only just a few feet behind Darrell Waltrip now, and it'll be interesting to see if he can piggyback his way down this whole lead group. There's Darrell Waltrip, and just right behind him is Ken Schrader.
There's Schrader in the number 90. There's that Davey Allison car that been making such good time.
But he might help. He might feel it's worth helping Schrader. They're both in Ford.
Now there you see the Earnhardt car right back there, and that's some super drafting going on. It's car number 9 that Dave Despain was just referring to.
It seems after Elliott runs a while on fresh rubber, then they begin to give away a little bit. He slows down. He had pulled out to a good lead there a moment ago. Now he's able to, or he's not able to hook in Earnhardt off as Earnhardt has caught him. Earnhardt's able to keep his car on the low side of the racetrack.
And you'd think if anybody's car was going away, it would be Earnhardt's, because it continues to lay down a trail of smoke through that turn 1.
But hold on, there's Buddy Baker in that Oldsmobile back, creeping into the picture another time. And let's not forget that Jeff Bodine is 4th, Richard Petty 5th, Waltrip 6th, Parsons 7th, Schrader in 8th. One more pit stop, one more time for tires in this race. They're all praying for a caution right now. Get them in that kind of a condition and not have any chances losing in the pits. More from Daytona shortly. The action next on CBS Sports is NBA action at its best when Eastern Conference leading Boston Celtics, Larry Bird and company take on the Western Conference leaders, the LA Lakers. Magic Johnson against Larry Bird is going to be a great contest at NBA action. You don't want to miss. It's coming up next on CBS Sports. We're getting down to as dramatic a finish as we've had here at Daytona. We have one more pit stop, and it may not be the car or the driver that decides this race. It may be that unsung hero on pit road who will give us the winner this time. Here's the battle for the lead. Earnhardt swings it down and goes underneath Bill Elliott in this ongoing confrontation for the lead. 183 of 200 laps now complete. Right behind them is Buddy Baker with a magnificent run. They touch again. Just behind these three is another tremendous battle going on. Jeff Bodine leads a pack of 4 automobiles. Bodine in the 4th position. Richard Petty in there. Richard Petty has now moved around. Petty has come up into 4th, and he's closing on the 3 leaders. Bodine has fallen to 5th. Then you see Waltrip in the 6th position down that back straightaway. In 7th is Parsons, 8th is Schrader, 9th is Allison, 10th is Lake Speed.
I think Schrader's just past Parsons. I think he's now swapped position with Petty.
There are still 13 cars in the lead lap, Ken. In the 10th position, you mentioned Lake Speed. Phil Parsons is 11th. Cale Yarborough is 12th. And Ricky Rudd, the last car in the lead lap, is 13th.
Bodine, Waltrip at it.
Neil Bonnet had been in the lead lap most of the day, but during one of our commercial breaks, he came in for a 4-tire pit stop, which has put him 1 lap down.
Look at Waltrip falling back here a bit. There goes Schrader by him, Parsons by him. On car number 17, Waltrip. Talking to Waddell Wilson.
Telling him what the problem is.
In the lead, number 3, Dale Earnhardt, who had it right within his grasp. He and Bodine were going to settle it between themselves a year ago, and then it went away. An empty fuel tank. Baker. Last year he crashed in this event. Now Waltrip is pitting and Schrader is pitting. Darrell Waltrip down pit road. Way up at the end, almost where you come back out at turn 1. Waddell Wilson there and company. Ken Schrader is in very quickly. They just topped the tank on number 90.
Less than 5 seconds. Less than 5 seconds he was in the pits, but he gets out a little slower than others. In fact, he's getting out very slow. He's not up to speed that he should be at this point.
No way. Something wrong. Here comes 17 out. There's something amiss on car number 90. He's still running very slowly. Can't believe the gear is that tall.
Well, it's possible he might have a transmission. Yeah.
He might have missed an upshift too or something like that.
But it's going to cost him dearly. Ken, to show how competitive NASCAR Winston Cup racing has become nowadays, the previous record in the leaders in the lead lap in the past was in 1984. At this point of the race, there were 6. There were 13 on the lead lap before these 2 pit stops.
We're at lap 186. They'll be getting ready to fuel shortly. And it will be just a topping of the tank and on their way.
Now, Ken Schrader, when he went in the pits then too, he locked his back brakes up very badly and slid the last 30 yards into his pits, which will have almost certainly flat spotted at least one of his rear tires. So he could have a nasty vibration problem for the last 14 to 15 laps as well.
Now it's Bill Elliott getting into the pits. And it'll be interesting to see. Jeff Bodine's crew in particular have gotten better gas mileage over the years. He might be able to, he might gamble and try to stretch it the rest of the way. Bill Elliott knows he can't. Bobby Allison knows he can't. They're both in.
Mike Joy.
Elliott getting that gulp of gas. Kenny Schrader locked in the strategy for everybody. Took more than about 6 seconds, and I don't think he got a full can of fuel from this point. He probably doesn't need it, though.
Elliott is back out. Let's see who among the leaders in Mike or Dave Despain. I think we want to know from Gary Nelson if they think they can stretch it. They've always been the mileage experts in this event. I think Ned's point is well taken. Here's Earnhardt leading, Baker in second.
And remember,
third.
Earnhardt ran out of gas here last year while Bodine did go on and win the race.
And everybody thought he might be coming in.
Yep.
188 laps are now complete. Dale Earnhardt, 2-time Winston Cup champion. Getting down to those final moments. Phil Parsons pitting. Lake Speed is on pit road, topping their tanks. 13 cars in the lead. There's Phil, and what were the colors of his brother, Benny. Benny's running up in the top 5 at the present time. Remember that Elliott is pitted Lake Speed. On pit road and back out again. He's had a good day, just up into the top 10. Earnhardt again out of turn 4.
But evidently he over-revved the engine or something. I believe he just blew up as he was heading out of the pits.
Oh, that's too bad. Unfortunate for Lake Speed, second place finisher a couple of years back. Parsons is in. Benny Parsons on pit road, had been running fit.
Overshoots his pits. That'll cost him an extra 2 or 3 seconds.
To Mike Joy.
Nice try, but Benny Parsons, about 400 feet from here, had the brakes locked. He had to get off the brake to straighten the car, and when he did so, couldn't stop in time for his pit. He only overshot it by 1, and that's within NASCAR rules. They ran down, gassed him. He's gone.
As they are situated. Earnhardt first, Baker second, Petty third, Bodine fourth, Parsons fifth, Ricky Rudd sixth, Cale Yarborough. Now, let's see if indeed car number 3 is going to come in. Yes. And Baker's going to come in. They pitted in tandem before in this race. Now you have a battle between those two. Richard Petty takes the lead. Could he win an 8th Daytona 500? Unprecedented. Here's Dave Despain.
Dale Earnhardt on pit road. Nothing fancy about this. Splash some fuel in the car and then turn him loose. It's taken a little longer than they like. They wanted to make sure that they got all the fuel they needed. It's a drag race down pit road to see who get out first.
Baker out first.
That was twice as long as anybody else. He took about 11 seconds, and both Schrader and Bill Elliott took about 5.
There you see Baker coming out in front of Earnhardt.
Way out in front of him, too. Earnhardt got off to a slow start, not only stayed in the pits longer, but he didn't really get up to speed as quickly as Baker.
Petty and Bodine come to the tri-oval first and second. Ricky Rudd also pitted in that period. Petty is the leader. Bodine is in second. 9 laps remain for $1.5 million. We're down to it here at Daytona. 29th running of the Great American Race. And the Great American Champion, Richard Petty, car number 43, is out in front.
Cale Yarborough had moved up to 4th, but now he's in the pits for that little dash of fuel that he needs to finish.
I wonder when Dale Inman's going to bring him in. He's down low on the racetrack. It could be now. There's Buddy Baker back on the track. Made a great pit stop. His 2 sons working with him. Stop running. Here comes Petty on pit road. And that leaves Bodine. 8 laps to go, still on the track. And the issue is, will they gamble it? Here's Despain.
Richard Petty's car on pit road. 7 times he's won this race. A crack pit crew, a wonderful pit stop. In and out, 3 or 4 seconds. He's back underway. Mike Joy.
I'm with Gary Nelson, and now there's just one little Indian out on the racetrack. The gas mileage kings of NASCAR racing, talking to his driver. Gary, are you going to stop?
Well, we're going to stop either by being out of gas or because the race is over. We feel like either win or lose. Our calculations show we're going to run out on the last lap, and that's a close enough gamble for me. We're going to give it a try.
Dale Earnhardt tried that 1 year ago. He came up 3 laps short on gas, and these guys beat him. Reverse strategy this year.
So Jeff Bodine is in front. Can he stay there? Will he run out of gas? We'll know in about 6.5 laps at the finish of the Daytona 500.
Here.
It's the economy.
Oh, Russell, what kind of motor oil are you using?
Motor oil is motor oil. Motor oil definitely is not motor oil. A 4-cylinder engine works harder and needs the extra protection of specially formulated Valvoline 4-guard.
Not much of a break this year.
It's the economy.
Oh, Russell.
4 laps to go. The word was that Bodine was about to pit. 4 laps to go. He stays out, trying to stretch this car. He is in the first position. He has about 23 seconds and a near empty tank on second place man. There are the standings. Bill Elliott in second, Benny Parsons in third, Richard Petty in fourth, Buddy Baker in fifth.
Dale Earnhardt dropped all the way to 6th on that pit stop, Ken. He didn't get out of the pits very good, so it's dropped him. He was leading the race when he came into the pits.
Running on empty. Bodine won this race a year ago, trying to duplicate it. Can he stay there? There's Davey Allison drafting with him and pulling alongside. Looks like he's slowing down.
Yes, it does. Now, if he could have stayed on.
Okay, he is out of fuel, I believe. Out of gas. He's juggling it. He's at the worst place he can be. He's running out of fuel. He is losing the 500 right here. Bodine gambled, got snake eyes. 2 laps to go. Elliott. That's Kathy Bodine with her fingers crossed. It didn't work. A year ago, he won my admiration. He won this race, and at 8:30 at night, when everybody else is out for victory celebrations, he was at a Kmart store signing autographs. That's not going to happen this year. And this man's
about to take him for the lead on the back straight.
Elliott closes in. Gasping. Car number 5 running real slow. That was in on the inside. Elliott's now in front. Laps running down. Less than 3 remaining to play this one out.
A year ago, Dale Earnhardt was leading with 3 laps to go. Ran out of gas. Jeff Bodine went on to win.
Benny Parsons second. Richard Petty third. Buddy Baker fourth. Earnhardt up to 5th.
That certainly seemed to be stretching your luck just a bit too far to try and run another 7 laps over everyone else.
2 to go. Bodine, bottom of the racetrack. Not to be his day. My kingdom for a pint of fuel.
Now, can Benny Parsons catch Bill Elliott?
I don't think so. I think he's losing ground slightly. He was closer than that just a couple of laps ago.
Leader Bill Elliott closing in on his second Daytona 500. There's Richard Petty having a magnificent race in third. The car number 75 falling a lap down, Neil Bonnet. Elliott in car number 9 coming around for a white flag, this time by the Great American Race with another surprise right at the end.
Benny might catch him yet. He's going high there as he comes up turn 3.
Parsons is closing now. Parsons is reeling in Elliott with 1 lap to go. He's 12 car lengths down as they cross the stripe. 2.5 miles remaining. Richard Petty closing in. There's Parsons in that Harry Hyde car. Moving up. Ford in first. Chevrolet in second. Pontiac in third. Daytona 500. Down to it. Final lap.
Elliott staying low on the racetrack. He knows that he's just got to stay down there and hope that Benny Parsons can't catch enough draft. Parsons coming right down on the racetrack with him on the low side, trying to pick up that draft, but again, I'm afraid he's too far behind.
Here they are for turn number 3. Parsons still trying to close. Final lap. Last sprint out of turn number 4. The pride of Georgia, Bill Elliott, straining car number 9 to bring it home and give Ford and give the folks of Georgia something to cheer about. He comes across the line to win it by about 10 car lengths. Bill Elliott, 2-time winner of the Great American Race. Second place with a great performance, Benny Parsons, and third to the king, Richard Petty. An estimated 125,000 up to congratulate Bill Elliott on his cool-down lap of honor here at the World Center of Speed. Dan Elliott there with part of his crew. The Elliott brothers have pulled it off. The crew from Georgia have put it on the racing world for a second time. They've won the Daytona 500. Well, he never shows too much emotion. I can tell you right now, he's happy. Jeff Bodine. Calculated risk. Didn't work out.
No, he didn't. He's still racing, Ken. He's still got to finish this lap and try to finish as well as he can in the race. He didn't drop out. He coasted around to the pits, got some gas, but it's going to put him far back in the field.
18th.
With the way he was running, I think that was a pretty poor decision to try and hang it in there. I know he gets good fuel consumption, but there's good fuel consumption and there's miraculous fuel consumption.
Well, I think he was looking for the miracle because he knew if he pulled in that Elliott would take it, so he decided it was worth the gamble. You either finish first or you finish nowhere.
I remember 1963 very well. I was leading the race with 2 laps to go, and I ran out of gas. Of course, I did manage to finish third.
Latest report, Bodine will be scheduled 14th on that final rundown. Into victory lane. And for Mildred Elliott, the mother, watching up in Dawsonville, Georgia, and his daughter, Star, they've got to be dancing around the living room in Dawsonville as Bill Elliott has pulled it off. And Mama Reese, she has a bad hip these days, 90 years young, but I suppose that she wanted to be by herself. She didn't want any interruptions when she watched her grandson here today. Congratulations, one and all. You've got yourself a great champion. Parsons for second, Petty for third, Baker for fourth, Earnhardt for fifth, Allison sixth, Schrader seventh, Waltrip eighth. And back in 14th, Jeff Bodine, just down on the end of pit road. A great effort by the defending champion, who decided that it was worth the shot. Maybe it would happen. And this time it did not. Chris Economaki standing by.
And that steering wheel comes off as Bill Elliott puts the pin back in. He's calm. He's used to this scene nowadays. And being congratulated from both sides of the car here. People swimming around. Here we go. And he gets the cheers of the crowd. Hey, Bill. Congratulations. That was a thriller at the end, wasn't it?
I'll tell you what, the crew did it today. You know, every time we beat the guys out on pit stops, and we kept on and we kept on, and we was always out front. It seems like they caught up on during the race, but whenever it counted, we were out front.
What about the challenges you had? They were strong. From Buddy Baker, that was a surprise. And then from Dale Earnhardt, were you confident you could beat those guys?
Not really. Earnhardt got really strong at the bottom of the racetrack, and I knew if he beat me back out of the pits, I'd have a hell of a race.
First step towards another $1 million season, Bill. Is that on your mind?
No doubt about it. I'll tell you what, this old Ford Thunderbird kept right on digging all day long. I'm proud of it.
You gave us a great show, Bill. Congratulations and continue good luck. That's it from the winner's circle. Chris Economaki, back to you, Ken Squire.
Winning by half a second today. In his 9th Daytona 500, he comes to his second win. Bill Elliott's been here since 1978. Last year, he gave it a great effort
found himself just a tad shy at the finish of it all. This year he comes back and wins the event. Bill Elliott, our congratulations to him. We'll be back with more of the story of this great Daytona 500. Here's his margin of victory in a moment. Let's take a look now at the top 15 in the Daytona 500 for 1987. Bill Elliott wins it for a second time, and then the senior crowd came in. Benny Parsons second, Richard Petty third, Buddy Baker fourth, Dale Earnhardt was fifth. In the sixth position, Bobby Allison. Schrader, after that great run, wound up in seventh. Darrell Waltrip was eighth, Ricky Rudd ninth, and Cale Yarborough in 10th. Now, the next 5, back to the 15th position, Phil Parsons in 11th. Then Bodine, and look at Alan Kowicki, that rookie who didn't even make the field a year ago, comes through in 15th position. Down in the garage area, Dave Despain is standing by with that senior crowd, which really paid off this afternoon, second, third, and fourth.
Well, indeed, Ken Squire, the young lion from Dawsonville, went to victory lane today, but the old guard, the legends who really created this sport, have come home second, third, and fourth. Benny Parsons, somebody said that on Thursday, a car won your race, not a driver in that qualifying race. I would think today that perhaps you proved that you're still capable of driving one of these things.
Well, I did hear that, Dave, but yeah, I took it for what it was worth Thursday, and I think that Thursday, I did a good job in the car. Today, if I hadn't slid down pit road trying to make a pit stop, it would have been a little bit better. But Bill was tough today, but so were these other guys.
Could anybody have beaten Elliott? It came down to a little fuel mileage war at the end, but did anybody have the stuff to beat Bill?
I think that we could run with him. I really do. But the last tire change that we made, we picked up on a horrendous push. In other words, the car just would not turn in the corners, and we adjusted on the fuel-only stop, but we could not adjust enough to make it so we could catch Bill.
Good run today. Benny Parsons, the runner-up. King Richard Petty's won this thing 7 times, and looked for a while you were going to get another one here today.
Well, we never really got that far up. We was just, third or fourth, fifth place car, and we ran as fast as the leaders. We just never did get caught up with them, and then right there at last, we had a real good pit stop, and that put us ahead of Buddy, and some of them have been outrun us.
Let me get a quick comment from Buddy Baker, the 4th place finisher. Buddy, did you have a shot at winning this thing down at the end?
I think I did. Earnhardt and I were running first and second. The only thing I didn't do, I should have stopped when Bill did. That would have given me, same run as they had at the end there. I think maybe Elliott and Benny could run just a bit quicker than Earnhardt could lead me. And, I really felt like I was going to win today. I got one bad set of tires, and then we got another set that was just great. And I got back up to the front, and I said, well, that's my day when things start going like that. But it wasn't to be, but I was real proud of the car, and I hope that Crisco and all the people were happy with the way we run today.
Great run, Buddy Baker. Let's go to Mike Joy.
The man taking a drink out of this gallon jug, it's water. If it were gas, he might be in victory lane instead of with us in the garage area. Jeff Bodine, a bold gamble, but
that's probably all we needed to make it around. A couple laps, 2.5 laps, but it was our plan right from that last pit stop of ours to try to make it. Not to try to outrun anybody, because it was pretty wild up there. It got pretty exciting. A lot of racing going on. And Bill and Benny, Earnhardt, all those cars were running pretty good. Baker. So our plan was just to try to outlast everybody, and we came up a couple laps short.
Is it particularly ironic that you're just where Earnhardt was last year, winning almost everything and running out of gas with 3 laps to go?
It could be. I don't know. It's been an awful good week here for me, and we took a gamble. If you never take a chance in life, it's pretty dull and boring, right? We took a chance and we lost, but I'm happy.
Maybe next year. Back upstairs to Ken Squire.
Hi, kids.
Tom Sneva finished up in 16th. It was Morgan Shepherd 17th, Rodney Combs in 18th, Ken Reagan 19th today, and more from Daytona in a moment.
After a spectacular season, highlighted by his exciting Indy 500 win, Bobby Rahal captured the CART PPG National Championship. Budweiser and Bobby Rahal are the year's winningest team in Indy car racing. Racing fans, this Bud's for you.
The Daytona 500 has been sponsored by Budweiser, the genuine article, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. The Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. No matter how far you go, Goodyear takes you home. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
So, Bill Elliott wins another 500, but winning the 500 for the second straight time doesn't give him reason to relax. For the publicity, riches, and endorsements he will get will only fuel the jealousy and appetites of the other contestants on the circuit. The youth was here. The surge was great, but it fell short as a parade of old pros won. Jeff Bodine, why did he do what he did? Well, he knew he wouldn't win if he stopped for gas, reminding me of a driver I congratulated once on finishing second. And he said, Chris, second place is losing. We would like to express our thanks to everybody here at NASCAR, the Daytona International Speedway, and everyone who helped make this a great day for CBS and sports fans around the country. Thank you.
Coming next, two of the NBA powerhouse teams go at it when the Celtics take on the LA Lakers live from the Forum in Los Angeles. The Daytona 500 has been a presentation of CBS Sports.